The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Brutal Training. Captain Van Horn watched the training of Team 01 on the monitor. The training room had been adjusted to double gravity. Xia Xingchen and Hugo were also doing the same training as the other three, but the amount of training they did was 5 times that of the other three. Since many planets in the Milky Way have high gravity, and they are in a state of weightlessness during long-term space travel, the density of human muscles and bones will decrease. Suddenly entering a high-gravity environment to fight at this time will have disastrous consequences. Dizziness and weakness are minor matters, but serious cases can lead to fainting due to insufficient blood supply to the brain, sudden changes in blood pressure, rupture of cerebral blood vessels, and even fractures of the body. These various symptoms caused by sudden changes in gravity are called gravity adaptation syndrome. 20 years ago, Tang Dynasty Group made a breakthrough in the miniaturization technology of gravity simulation systems. Originally mainly used in space stations, the simulated gravity device of the space biosphere was reduced to the size of a room and applied to spacecraft, which solved the problem of gravity adaptation syndrome. Until now, this technology is still in the hands of Tang Dynasty Group. Even Krupp Industries had to spend a lot of money to buy patented technology and core components from the Tang Dynasty Group. Tangyang is the latest type of space cruiser, so they were equipped with this system at the request of the military. The gravity simulation system on their ship can simulate a 3x gravity environment in the training room at most. However, for the subsequent ships of the same level, the military can only simulate a 1g gravity environment in order to save costs. Van Horn pressed the pager, and soon, the bald Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich and the pot-bellied chief engineer Ancelotti came to the captain's room. "You all saw the video just now. Tell me what you think," Captain Van Horn asked after the two sat down. "This kid is awesome, really awesome. I have been on many ships, and it is rare to see such an amazing person," Ancelotti said. "What he said is exactly what I want to emphasize. It is more convincing when he says it than when I say it. After all, these arrogant recruits still have many doubts and resistance to their superiors. They may not listen to what I say, but Xia Xingchen is different. He is so awesome, and the previous few battles were very exciting and convincing." Captain Heinrich was very emotional. "I think what he said makes sense. The new recruits are not mature and qualified. We need to strengthen basic training," Captain Horn suggested. "Indeed. I will immediately formulate a new training plan," Heinrich agreed. Van Horn thought about it again. "This plan should include all crew members, including us. There are also various departments that take turns on duty, and the members of the cockpit must also participate. They can change shifts every 6 hours, and they must all participate in the training." "Okay, that's what I mean," Heinrich replied. "I don't need to do it, old man." Ancelotti was overwhelmed when he heard that he had to undergo physical training. "This fat man is a lazy person. That won't do. As the chief engineer, you must stay healthy to better ensure the operation of the spacecraft. Therefore, you must participate in the training, and the requirements are stricter. This is an order." Van Horn looked at Ancelotti's big belly with ill intentions. Ancelotti's face was full of worry. After the brutal physical training, Li Pang and Bimoan could no longer stand up. Xia Xingchen used violence to drive the three of them back to the dormitory, and personally taught them the 3 methods of fetal breathing to help them recover. Then, he began to meditate by himself, while Hugo picked up a book and read it with relish. "Major Xia Xingchen, please come to the captain's room." At this time, the broadcast in the ship interrupted his meditation. Xia Xingchen tidied his military uniform and came to the captain's room and found that the 3 big men on the ship were all there. "Report. Major Xia Xingchen is here to report." "Major Xia Xingchen, please sit down. I want to tell you something." Van Horn told Xia Xingchen all their ideas. Moreover, he appointed Xia Xingchen as the deputy squadron leader of the Tangyang Mecha squadron and the deputy chief instructor on the Tangyang. Xia Xingchen agreed without hesitation. He was not a person who was willing to keep secrets. and he knew very well that the stronger his comrades were, the easier it would be for all of them to survive in the war in the future. The four of them worked out a training plan together, and all crew members had to take turns to conduct no less than 3 hours of physical training and 3 hours of martial arts training every day. Xia Xingchen was in charge of physical training, Hugo was in charge of martial arts training, and Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich led the Mecha divisions to take turns to conduct group combat coordination training on the simulator. So for the next 30 days, the crew of the Tangyang fell into a hellish life. Xia Xingchen's physical training was very large and compact, but what impressed the trainees was that Xia Xingchen could easily complete the training volume set by them. And after one group of training was completed, another group would come until all the crew members had finished training. His example shut up those who were not convinced by his position as deputy squadron commander. Xia Xingchen resolutely used violence against those stubborn element who wanted to be lazy. For example, Xia Xingchen took special care of the fat guy who relied on his special status, took advantage of his seniority, and cheated. He was so tired that he didn't even have the strength to eat and lost weight. Wugo liked the job of this martial arts instructor even more. He was not good at speaking and would not teach in the human way, but he would use the way of Terami martial arts inheritance, which was to fight directly. Wugo fought with everyone, more than a dozen at a time. Except for a few women, everyone had bruises, but those girls were not feeling well either, and their bodies were also covered with bruises. Xia Xingchen's only care for the female crew members was to tell Wugo not to hit the face when hitting these female creatures. Wugo liked to fight with dozens of people from morning to night every day. Of course, Wugo did not try his best. When he was on Chaniuan Star, Xia Xingchen also specially invited Qin Ren and the old man to give Wugo instructions. Qin Ren found that Wugo used all his strength in every attack during the battle. Qin Ren suggested that Wugo learn to control his strength. In training, he should use a level of strength according to the opponent he faces. At first, Wugo was not used to it, but after training for a period of time, he found that his ability to control his body and judgment had improved a lot, which was very helpful for him to strengthen his strength. Therefore, when he fought with other crew members, he controlled his strength very well, and would beat people very badly, but not fatally or crippled. The fate of several people in the 01 team was even more miserable. In addition to completing the same amount of training as other crew members, they also had to complete the extra training arranged by Xia Xingchen. Then the Leaping Brothers teamed up to fight Bima Wen. The two brothers doubled their fighting power together, and Bima Wen was forced to use all his strength, and all kinds of despicable means emerged one after another. The two brothers also learned a lot of dirty tricks in the battle with him. After Wugo trained the others, he specially gave these three people special treatment, which was miserable. Chapter 202, Deployment in the North. A month later, the spacecraft arrived at the Laulant Star space station. They will rest here for a week, and then go to the northern part of Laulant Star to perform patrol and blockade tasks. It has been a month since the Galactic Empire issued a statement to Prince Nicholas. Prince Nicholas refused to compromise, so the Galactic Empire military began to block the border. Now the major fleets have arrived at the defense zone and blocked the border area. Small-scale exchanges of fire have broken out in some places. The main fleet has begun to prepare for long-term large-scale exchanges of fire. During this month, Prince Nicholas was not idle. He was also actively preparing for the war. First of all, in the military, Nicholas convened an emergency military meeting, formally formed 4 fleets, and appointed military chiefs of the major fleets. Among them, the former Northern Fleet was renamed the Northern First Fleet. This fleet consists of 4 squadrons. The fleet flagship is the heavy space carrier God of the North Wind, and the fleet is stationed in the Siberian starfield. The commander of the Northern First Fleet is Admiral Denisov, the former commander of the Northern Fleet. This fleet is also the strongest fleet under Nicholas. The Second Northern Fleet is composed of brand new warships produced by the Northern Administrative Region in recent years. Due to the failure of the paralysis operation, 3 squadrons were barely assembled. Their flagship is the Ice Goddess, a heavy space carrier of the same level as the Boreal. This heavy space carrier was built secretly. Nicholas has 2 docks in the Khabarovsk starfield for manufacturing heavy space carriers. But in order to avoid the suspicion of the Galactic Empire, he only announced that he had built one heavy space carrier. The ice goddess has been hiding in the space in the far north, and even the personnel training was completed on the Bori. This time, they had no choice but to rush into battle. The commander of the 2nd Northern Fleet is Admiral Vitus, the youngest admiral in the north. They are stationed in the Bakel starfield bordering the eastern administrative region of the Galactic Empire. The 3rd Northern Fleet is a fleet composed of nearly 2/3 of the forces of the severely overstaffed garrison fleets in various parts of the Northern Administrative Region, with a total of 4 squadrons. Their flagship is the Prince Peter heavy armored cruiser. The commander of the 3rd Fleet of the North is Admiral Sasha, who is 85 years old and the oldest in the entire North. He is also Prince Nicholas's teacher in Fleet Command. Their base is the Baku starfield bordering the capital administrative district. The 4th Fleet of the North is composed of those once scrapped warships that Nicholas secretly hid in the Khabarovsk starfield. Although the ships are relatively old, many of them have been modernized. The number of this fleet is amazing, with 8 squadrons, far exceeding the number estimated by the Imperial Military Department. Their flagship is the Cold Moon heavy armor cruiser. The commander of the 4th Fleet of the North is Admiral Nahak, who has a steady command style and is good at defense. Their base is the Sakhalin Administrative District bordering the Western Administrative District of the Galactic Empire. Since the Galactic Empire placed the most powerful Galaxy 3rd Fleet and the 7th Fleet in the Western Administrative District, Nicholas could only place the largest fleet and the general who is best at defense there. However, military pressure is not the most fatal. What is choking Nicholas' throat now is the economic sanctions. Due to the military expansion and preparations for war in recent years, the fiscal deficit of the Northern Administrative Region has reached a very dangerous situation. The comprehensive economic blockade and embargo now have dealt a heavy blow to the economy of the Northern Administrative Region. Nicholas quickly declared the North to be in a state of war and seized the assets and equipment of the interstellar consortiums that attempted to escape from the Northern Administrative Region. Despite this, some economists analyze that, if Nicholas did not start a war, the finances of the Northern Administrative Region would collapse within a year. The only way out is to start a war. Moreover, a more serious consequence of such an economic blockade is that a large number of warship projects under construction in the North have been stagnant due to the lack of accessories and key materials, including 2 Snow Mountain class heavy space carriers that are just halfway through their production progress on the slipway. In order to break the blockade, Nicholas sent a large number of small-scale troops and hired adventurer groups to find and open up new routes and wormholes in the asteroid belt in the border area. Especially the border between the Northern Administrative Region and the Western Administrative Region is now particularly lively. After arriving at the Laulant Star Space Station, Xia Xingchen, Yugo, Zhang Yingying and Vivian went shopping with the brothers Liping and Lipang of the 01st Mecha team and Bimoan. They mainly went to the second-hand armor parts market at Laulant Star Space Station to see if there were any new and interesting parts. Xia Xingchen was not short of money now, and maybe these things could be used in battle at some point, so it was better to be prepared. On this day, the 3 giants of Tangyang were studying the next course of action in Van Horn's captain's room, and suddenly received an emergency communication order from the 6th Fleet. Lieutenant General Dodge, the commander of the 6th Fleet of the 3rd Fleet, ordered Captain Van Horn to pick someone up at the military court of the space station. The 50 soldiers on Tangyang were jealous of each other at Laulant Star Space Station, which triggered a group fight of nearly 500 people. In the end, all the military police were dispatched to control the situation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, Fight at the Military Club. Although it is not uncommon for soldiers to fight after a long space journey, as long as no one is killed, the General Fleet Commander will turn a blind eye and regard it as psychological adjustment and venting. But this kind of fight involving 500 people can be said to be a riot. This directly alarmed Vice Admiral Dodge, the highest commander of the 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet. He sent military police to stop the riot. He also called the officers of the soldiers involved in the fight to scold them and gave them a serious demerit for their spacecraft. This demerit is a stain that can only be offset by military merit in battle, and it is not a small military merit. The cause of the incident is very simple. The female soldiers on the Tiangong were harassed in the military club of the space station. There are 12 female soldiers on the Tiangong, excluding Zhang Yingying and Vivian, and there are 10 girls. Since Zhang Yingying and Vivian are already married, the remaining 10 female soldiers have become the treasures of the bachelors on the Tiangong. After the Tiangong arrived at the Lowland Star space station, Captain Horn gave them a week-long vacation, allowing the crew to move freely in the space station and to do 2 hours of physical training and 1 hour of martial arts training every night before going to bed. A group of young people have been holding back for more than a month, and they all plan to go off the ship to vent. The military club is a necessary facility for every space station, which is specially used for soldiers returning from space travel to relax and have fun. There are bars, nightclubs, game halls, bathing centers and other facilities. Each military club can accommodate tens of thousands of people. The crew of the Tiangong drank and danced in the nightclub of the military club. Several veterans of the Lowland Star garrison saw that several female soldiers on the Tiangong were quite beautiful, so they came forward to tease them and even made a move. A female soldier couldn't bear the harassment and gave the veteran a big slap in the face, which stirred up a hornet's nest. Several soldiers attacked several female soldiers, who knew that after more than 20 days of inhumane special training, several female soldiers were so fierce that they beat several soldiers and made them run away. But this is the territory of the Lowland Star garrison after all, and a few veteran soldiers called dozens of comrades to get back at them. The other male soldiers on the Tiangong were not happy. Someone dared to bully these female soldiers whom they regarded as treasures. No, they could not tolerate it. So, they worked together to beat the newcomers. Of course, the local garrison who was beaten could not swallow this breath, so they continued to call for help, and were beaten again, and then continued to call for help. In the end, a conflict between a few people triggered a fight involving 500 or 600 people. Finally, the person in charge of the military club saw that the scene was really out of control, so he had to report to the military police and the military discipline department. When the military discipline department arrived, they saw that the 50 people on the Tiangong were still not at a disadvantage against the attack of 300 or 400 people on the other side. At this time, hundreds of people were lying on the ground. The fully armed military police separated them, took them all away for investigation, detained them for a day without food, and ordered their chief officers to come and take them away. After feeling the wrath of Vice Admiral Dodge, Colonel Van Horn finally met his soldiers. They were all ragged, bruised, but in high spirits, holding their heads high and looking very proud. "Jadal, come here." The highest ranking soldier among the soldiers was a captain named Jadal. Captain Horn could tell from where he was standing that this guy must be one of the leaders. Jadal was the leader of the 25 infantrymen on the Tiangong. He had never attended a military academy. He was a veteran who had climbed up from the bottom. He was also Captain Horn's direct subordinate and had been with him for more than 10 years. He was very popular among the soldiers. It could be said that he could get hundreds of responses if he called. He was usually indispensable in fights. "Report to the commander. Captain Jadal is here to report. Tell me, what's going on?" "Report to the commander. The female soldiers on our ship were sexually harassed and besieged by a group of ruffians. We can't stand our brothers and sisters on the ship being bullied, so we are forced to fight back. What was the result?" "Report to the commander. We have the upper hand with 50 people against 500 of them. If it weren't for the intervention of the damn military police, I have the confidence to beat them all down." Jadal was very proud. Although the wounds on his body were painful, they had undergone Xia Xingchen's inhuman special training for a month, and gradually formed a tacit understanding in the process of besieging the Teramiva lane. The results of the special training were vividly demonstrated in this battle. Captain Van Horn nodded. "That's good enough. It didn't embarrass me. Jadal, take the team back. All personnel's vacations are cancelled. All personnel involved in the fight will undergo 5 hours of physical training and 5 hours of martial arts training every day for 10 days from today. Each person will be fined 2 months' salary. Report to the commander. Considering that we won the fight, can't the punishment be lighter? Jardel and a group of soldiers were frowning. You are so bold that you dare to negotiate with me. It is because you won that you get this treatment. If you lose, you will have to undergo special training for 1 month and be fined for 1 year. How about it? Don't accept it. Want to experience it? Van Horn showed a malicious look. Yes, Commander. Take everyone back. Everything is ready. Listen to my orders. Everyone turn left. Run. Target. Tangyang. Let's go. Captain Jardel gave the order. Perhaps because he was afraid that Captain Horn would change his mind, they quickly disappeared from his sight. Captain Van Horn returned to the Tangyang, where Chief Engineer Ancelotti and Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich were watching a video in the captain's room. What are you watching? Van Horn asked. The surveillance video of the military club at Lauland Space Station yesterday, in high definition. A kid uploaded it to the 3rd Fleet's local area network, and the forums within the fleet exploded. We are completely famous. Ancelotti said proudly. Heinrich pressed the replay button, and the three watched the video from the beginning. Look, you can tell at a glance that those guys are soldier thugs. Look at the way they ask for a beating. Look, they are touching their buttocks. A slap on them is not enough. The female soldiers on our ship are simply female Tyrannosaurus Rex, much more powerful than those cowards. What a tacit understanding they have in their cooperation. If Xia Xingchen and Hugo were here, would 500 more be enough to fight? These damn military police would have died if they had come a few minutes later. We could have almost wiped them out. Chapter 204 Landing Exercise. The three big guys on the Tangyang cruiser were watching the fighting scene in the military club and commenting on it. The video finished playing, and here are the messages from the soldiers of the 3rd Fleet. I heard that the Tangyang is a new battleship. Most of the recruits are so fierce. Their combat power can challenge the monsters on the Thor's hammer. They are much worse than those people on the Thor's hammer. They have all been on the battlefield and seen blood. They are definitely not comparable to these recruits. But if they can survive in 2 or 3 years, they can be challenged. Those soldiers deserve to be beaten. The defenders of Lauland Star often tease female soldiers from other units. Last time our sisters were bullied by that group of people, and the group of people on our ship were like turtles. It's so sad. I want to apply to be transferred to the Tangyang. It's so refreshing to watch those people get beaten. Are they really newly formed? Look at the tacit understanding of the fight. It doesn't seem like it. The military police are really a bunch of rubbish. They don't care if female soldiers are harassed, but they are diligent in eliminating violence and protecting the people. Be careful what you say upstairs. I'm a military police. Which department are you from? The military police are great. Come and bite me. The three of them couldn't help laughing when they saw these comments. How did the higher-ups handle this? Heinrich asked. First, they scolded our officers for 2 hours. This dodge has a really loud voice. He didn't even take a breath while scolding people. My ears are almost deaf. As for the punishment, the fleet will be given a serious offense, and then they will have to compensate for the losses and be fined. Of course, the money will be deducted from these bastards. Van Horn said. It's really depressing. They lost a great achievement before the battle even started. Hurry up and make up for your sins. Ancelotti was a little unhappy. What do you think? Heinrich asked. Van Horn thought for a moment, crossed his hands, supported his chin, and said, I think this battle was well fought. First of all, it shows that our choice to let the troops focus on physical training and martial arts training is very correct. Xia Xingchen and Hugo are really capable. In this month, the individual combat capabilities of our fleet soldiers have improved a lot. But the most important point is that they have formed cohesion and centripetal force. For a newly established unit, forming cohesion is the most important and the most difficult. In my original plan, it would be difficult enough to form combat effectiveness in 1 year, but this battle made them share the same hatred in the enemy. They fought together, were punished together, and faced difficulties together. More importantly, they regarded their comrades as brothers and sisters. When a unit is united, its combat effectiveness will increase exponentially, and we can face the battle with confidence. Ancelotti and Heinrich agreed. Amid the complaints of the soldiers who participated in the fight, the Tangyang space cruiser set out on its journey again. As the name implies, a space cruiser has a strong self-sufficiency and combat capability. However, this time the mission is somewhat special, so the Tangyang formed a battleship formation with other warships to carry out this mission. The Tangyang, 6 small high-speed reconnaissance ships of the Swordfish class and a large integrated supply ship of the Honeycomb class formed the 004 Space Patrol Fleet. The reason for bringing small high-speed reconnaissance ships is that they are more flexible and faster. They can play a big role in reconnaissance, pathfinding, and pursuit. Equipped with a large integrated supply ship, it can support small spacecraft to perform long-distance missions. The Honeycomb class large ocean-going integrated supply ship is 1022 meters long, 65 meters high, and 60 meters wide. The power system is 2 super large controllable nuclear fusion engines and 10 large controllable nuclear fusion engines. Its weapon system is 8 large laser cannons on the bow and 80 small laser rapid-fire cannons on the hull. The Honeycomb class integrated supply ship can carry 20 mechas, 500 infantry, 100 crew members and 300 technicians. In addition, there is a huge material storage space and retractable berths inside the hull. The main task of the Saturn Honeycomb class large space supply ship of the number 004 Space Patrol Fleet is to supply 6 Swordfish class small high-speed reconnaissance ships. The second is to carry a large number of infantry and crew members. Once the smuggled spacecraft is seized, someone needs to be responsible for driving the spacecraft back. The Saturn can carry a large number of personnel, which is just right for this job. In this long-distance patrol operation, Captain Van Horn is the supreme commander of the fleet, and he also appointed Zhang Yingying as deputy commander-in-chief. It has been 4 days since the number 04 Space Patrol ship left the Lauland Star Space Station. Yingying, report on the fleet situation. Van Horn came to the cockpit and asked. Everything is normal on this ship. Engine power is 50%. The fleet maintains formation flight. The distance to the left front is 800. Swordfish 1 is normal. The distance to the right front is 800. Swordfish 2 is normal. The distance to the rear of this ship is 100. Saturn and other 4 Swordfish spacecraft are normal. Very good. Now adjust the course. Target, asteroid belt Lauland 0653 resource satellite. Go there to conduct mecha assault and landing training. Understood. Target Lauland 0653 resource satellite. Course 52, 33, 71. Distance 56,430. All ships adjust the route. Lauland 0653 resource satellite was built in the past to mine some mineral resources in the asteroid belt, and was abandoned more than 200 years ago due to resource depletion. Because this resource satellite is relatively close to the route, Star pirates have been using it as a foothold for many years. The garrison of Lauland Star also knows this, but they did not completely destroy this resource satellite, but used it as a place to train soldiers and brush up military merits. The last pirates here came 5 years ago. They were doing very well. But after Nicholas failed to attack Wilhelm Krupp, he sent secret troops to capture all the pirates who participated in the operation and killed them. The pirates still entrenched in the Lauland Starfield are all small pirate organizations. They are small in scale and have not formed a climate at all. Prince Nicholas does not look down on these people at all. The distance ahead is 1000. Lauland 0653 resource satellite. No signs of life and energy reaction are found. The Mecha squadron begins to stand by. Distance 500. No abnormality is found. Distance 300. No abnormality is found. Zhang Yingying concentrated and stared at each monitor with full concentration. Everyone listen to my command. All warships stop moving forward and maintain landing formation. Swordfish 3, 4, 5, 6 are responsible for vigilance. Tangyang number 01, 02, 03, 04 Mecha squadrons are dispatched. Target, abandoned space station ahead. Saturn number 1 and number 2 landing ships are ready to land. Captain Van Horn gave the order to attack. Tangyang Squad 01, Xia Xingchen, codename Tangyang 01, Dragon Rider Mech, set off. Tangyang Squad 01, you go. Codename Tangyang 02, Terami Warrior Mech, set off. Tangyang Squad 01, Bimoan, codename Tangyang 03, Dark Knight Bat Mech, set off. Tangyang Squad 01, Leaping, codename Tangyang 04, Space Knight Mech, set off. Tangyang Squad 01, Lipang, codename Tangyang 05, Space Knight Mech, set off. The 5 mechas of Squad 01 came out in a line. They used a 3-2-2 formation, with the Dark Knight Bat Mech exploring the way in the front, and the Space Knights of the Lee brothers covering on both sides. The 2 of them chose universal equipment, which can be used for close combat and long-range attacks. This kind of battle is also the first time for Xia Xingchen. In the past, he fought alone in mecha battles, or listened to others' commands, but now, he must learn to command others. Fortunately, Xia Xingchen has the golden finger of mental clone, so there will be no impact between commanding operations and fighting. He also learned Mecha Combat Command in the Military Command Academy this year, so this is the best practice opportunity for him. Their current battle formation was developed after several people studied for many days. Yugo is good at close combat, but the mental power level of the Terami people is very low, and it is easy to be a target if they walk in the front. So his task is to protect Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen's Dragon Rider Flying General Mecha has a very strong firepower output, so he serves as a sniper and commander-in-chief in the end. B. Morlan is good at reconnaissance, and the detection system of the Dark Knight Bat is very advanced, so the task of exploring the way is given to him. The Lee brothers are responsible for covering him. Chapter 205 Devil or Angel. The division of the major administrative regions of the Galactic Empire is not so regular, because the universe is three-dimensional. 2 major administrative regions look close on the map of the Galactic Empire, but in fact they are not necessarily close to each other. They may be thousands of miles apart. Between the 2 administrative regions is either an asteroid belt full of gravel or a very far away uncharted zone. These uncharted zones are more dangerous than asteroid belts, filled with black holes, pulsars that are about to explode, red giants that are about to die, and magnetic storm planets that can cause all electrical components of spacecraft to fail. The main channel connecting the major administrative regions is the wormhole, which can be understood as a highway in space. Wormholes were discovered based on the principle of folding parallel spaces in the universe. Different spaces in the universe will fold and intertwine with each other. For example, there are 2 spaces A in the universe. A spacecraft can enter space B from an intersection of the 2 spaces A, that is, an entrance to the wormhole, travel in space B, and then return to another point in space A at the other exit of the wormhole. Since space is not completely flat, even if the spacecraft travels a short distance in space B, it has traveled a very long distance in space A of course. There are also the opposite, the space B of these wormholes is so long that you can't run through it in your lifetime. The NB01 wormhole connects the Lowland Starfield and the Sakhalin Starfield in the opposite northern administrative region, which is also the only safe passage between the 2 administrative regions. In addition, there are several unstable small wormholes in the asteroid belt, which is not a good choice for spacecraft that need a large safe distance to jump in and out of the wormhole. It is very likely that your spacecraft will rush out of the jump channel at high speed, and there will be a huge space meteorite waiting on the other side. It is also possible that you enter the wormhole and the exit at the other end disappears, so you can only wander in another space. Most of those who can choose these wild wormholes are desperate people, star pirates, smugglers, wanted criminals, etc. Now, since the Galactic Empire government announced the closure of the border, the NB01 jump channel is heavily guarded, and those star pirates and interstellar smugglers can only take a gamble and choose these small jump channels in the small belt, even if the chance of survival is less than 30%. Sam is in his early 60s and is a B-class mecha master. It is normal that a person like him, at this age, should have been a wealthy man and dominated the area. However, now, all his property is only this small cargo smuggling spaceship and a mecha. He and his 2 sons and 2 followers, a total of 5 people, do some sneaky things in the Milky Way. Sam passed the assessment of a B-class mecha master when he was 45 years old. At that time, he was in his prime and was scrambled by major forces. In the end, he became a mecha teacher and bodyguard for the son of a certain interstellar mine owner with an annual salary of 8 billion star coins. Sam followed this second generation ancestor around all day long, and under the guidance of his little master, he became addicted to drugs. The physical strength and mental strength of B-class mecha masters are very strong. Those drugs that have an effect on ordinary people have no effect on them at all. The drug that Sam came into contact with is called Psychedelic Angel. Psychedelic Angel is a powerful hallucinogen. It is made by extracting and diluting the juice of a plant called devil grass found on a planet called Dewa in the northern administrative region. Dewa has a warm and humid climate, and the entire planet is covered with dense rainforests. Devil flower is a plant that grows in the rainforest. Its root system is very developed and can cover an area of hundreds of square meters. Each devil flower can bloom 7 or 8 huge flowers with a diameter of 2 meters. These flowers emit a foul smell, but this smell is fatal to many animals. After smelling this smell, animals will run from a long distance and follow the source of the smell to lick the liquid secreted from the flowers. This liquid is highly toxic. After licking it, the animal will die on the spot. The body will be decomposed into liquid by the venom and absorbed by the roots of the devil flower. Generally, it is difficult to see living animals within a radius of dozens of kilometers where there are devil flowers. This also led to the scarcity of the number of devil flowers. Later, scientists extracted a special liquid from the flowers while studying the devil flowers. This purple liquid, as long as the human body takes a little, the mental power level will instantly increase by more than 20 levels, which can bring great pleasure to humans. But after 2 hours, this pleasure will gradually disappear, and after a day, this pleasure will turn into unbearable huge emptiness and pain. The higher the mental power level of a person, the greater the pleasure they get from taking this hallucinogen, and correspondingly, after the drug effect is lost, the greater the backlash they suffer. In other words, this drug is extremely addictive, and it is almost impossible to quit. What's more terrifying is that after taking this drug every time, the total amount of a person's mental power will decrease. After long-term use, a person's mental power level will decrease. This is fatal to mecha masters, and their strength will be greatly reduced. In order to satisfy their drug addiction, these mecha masters will do all kinds of evil, which is more harmful to society. Someone had a crooked idea and diluted this drug and sold it as a drug and gave it a new name, Dream Angel. As soon as Dream Angel was released, it spread rapidly. But soon, its almost unsolvable addictiveness and huge harm made the rulers of the Galactic Empire restless. Tens of millions of people lost their ability to live a normal life because of this drug, including nearly 10 million mecha masters. In particular, an S-class mecha master and several A-class mecha masters were infected, forcing the Galactic Empire government to issue a level 1 security alert. All those who manufacture, possess, transport and sell Dream Angel, no matter how high their official position or how respected their status, will be sentenced to death. The confiscated Dream Angels were destroyed. Prince Nicholas dealt with these people more forcefully. Once someone in the Northern Administrative District was found to have smoked and carried this Dream Angel hallucinogen, not only would he be sentenced to death, but his family would also be confiscated and exterminated. In addition, for the planet Deva, where the raw materials of Dream Angel were produced, Nicholas specially sent a fleet to permanently block the planet Deva, and all spacecraft approaching here would be destroyed as soon as possible. His behavior was seen by outsiders as a resolute fight against drugs, which won Nicholas a lot of praise. But secretly, Nicholas sent people to establish a large number of secret production bases on the planet Dewa to secretly produce Dream Angels. Chapter 206, The Fallen B-Class Mecha Master. The number of devil flowers is very rare because of their serious damage to the ecological environment. In order to increase production, Nicholas initially raised a large number of animals on the planet. Later, he secretly captured a large number of miners, transported them to the top of the devil flowers by aircraft, forcibly injected the juice of the devil flowers, and then threw them directly from the aircraft. Since the establishment of the secret production base, billions of miners have become flower fertilizers. Nicholas monopolized the production and sales of Dream Angels, but he did not sell them on a large scale, but hoarded them. The biological activity of the devil flower extract will not decrease much after being frozen and thawed for decades. He only provides a very small amount of Dream Angels to other regions of the Galactic Empire every year. As the saying goes, things are precious because they are rare. Now the price of Dream Angels in other regions has been hyped up to 10 million star coins per milliliter on the black market. These precious liquids have brought Nicholas huge funds. Sam once smoked Dream Angels at the instigation of his young master, and he couldn't stop since then. His savings over the years were squandered. In order to smoke Dream Angels, he even secretly sold his young master's treasured private mecha. Later, the matter was exposed, and Sam was fired. Sam lost his source of income, so he built a small cargo ship and started a business with his two sons, specializing in robbing small cargo ships and selling the stolen goods. After all, he was a B-level mecha master. Even if his strength was damaged, he was not something that ordinary people could resist. Moreover, he was ruthless and never left anyone alive, so nothing happened. A few months ago, more than a dozen large interstellar groups announced an embargo on the North. Many small businessmen saw business opportunities. They purchased some strategic materials from the Galactic Empire and then smuggled them to the Northern Administrative District to earn a high price difference. Sam smelled blood like a shark. He robbed one of the small smuggling ships, took away the goods, and sold the goods to the North before the border was blocked. After years of crazy military expansion and the economic blockade that the Galactic Empire had already begun, Nicholas's treasury had bottomed out, and he used his trump card, pushing all the Dream Angel drugs that had been hoarded over the years to other parts of the Galactic Empire. Doing so would not only bring in a huge amount of money, but also deal a heavy blow to the national strength of the Galactic Empire. Moreover, he could also use it to control some addicts, which was really killing 3 birds with 1 stone. For these smugglers, Nicholas gave great discounts to those who chose to use Dream Angel to offset the payment for goods. Sam sat in the cockpit of the spaceship and was extremely excited when he thought of the large box of Dream Angel in the cargo hold. He kept half of this batch of drugs for himself and mixed the rest and sold them. The money he got was more than enough to buy a large space transport spaceship. With his mecha driving skills, he was confident that he could retreat even when facing a small army. The Postman class small cargo spaceship finally rushed out of the small wormhole at high speed. This was the most difficult part of the entire navigation process, which was equivalent to a gamble with a success rate of only 30%. They were very lucky. There were only some small stellar debris in front of them. Haha, we are alive, and we have made a fortune this time. Several people celebrated. Further, the outer shell of the spacecraft was severely damaged during our interstellar jump, and the outer shell strength is only 40%, which seriously threatens the safety and speed of navigation. I suggest that we find a place to stop the ship for repairs and simply repair the outer shell. The eldest son, who was in the main driving position, suggested. Sam thought about it and felt that his son made sense. The situation of the spacecraft is very dangerous if it encounters an emergency. In space travel, you can't joke with your life. Is there any suitable place nearby? Sam asked. From the star map I copied from the smuggling ship we robbed, there is an abandoned resource satellite at 56, 45, 31 and 280,000. And there will be less gravel if we take this road. The only danger is that I'm afraid of encountering space pirates. Bullshit, I'm afraid of space pirates. I'll go there, maybe I can make a small fortune. Sam said. In space travel, it is too common for black to eat black. And Sam often makes a small fortune from space pirates, and those small scale space pirates are simply food for him. The Mecha squad of Tangyang and the landing force of the 42nd Space Patrol Fleet finished their training on the abandoned resource satellite in an orderly manner. They also confirmed that there was no one else here. A few hours later, the troops withdrew one after another. First, the infantry withdrew to the small landing ship, then the other mechas, and the 01st Mecha squad of Tangyang was the last. You don't have much energy left, return to the ship, I'll be the last one. Xia Xingchen ordered. The data link on the battlefield constantly transmits the data of the mechas of his team members to the captain's mecha. Yes, Captain. They turned and left, and Xia Xingchen turned on all the detectors and observed the surrounding situation. This is a standard procedure. In such a complex battlefield environment, it is easy to be attacked. Suddenly, a red dot appeared on the screen, flying towards the space station in the other direction of the space station. Xia Xingchen immediately sounded the alarm. Tangyang, an unidentified mecha is found approaching at the other end of the space station at 41,52,96. Distance 463. Everyone pay attention. Xia Xingchen quickly sounded the alarm and transmitted the information of the detector to the fleet through the data link. Due to the barrier between the space station and the asteroid belt, the detectors on several warships did not find the other mecha. Tangyang Mecha Squadron 05 is ready to attack, and the other squads are ready to attack again after recharging. The main guns of each ship are charged, and the close-in defense ship guns are charged. Tangyang 01, do you have enough energy? Captain Van Horn asked. Why is there no energy consumption data of Xia Xingchen in the data link data? This was asked to Zhang Yingying. Report to the captain. The Dragon Rider mecha is a nuclear engine. Xia Xingchen's words made Van Horn speechless. The one who appeared here is not a good person. I will occupy the advantageous terrain first. Xia Xingchen said. Okay, be careful. Squadron 05 was dispatched, and the battle formation met Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen quickly came to the edge of the resource satellite. Without the barrier of the resource satellite, the detector played a role. Chapter 207 Encountering a strong enemy. Target found. Distance 150. Optical image shows a terrifying corpse vulture mecha. Distance 650. A postman class small cargo ship. The terrifying corpse vulture mecha. Height 5.5 meters. Heavy air combat assault mecha. Parameters: strength 28, agility 27, armor 32, speed 31. This is a general purpose mecha with excellent performance. Only ace mecha divisions in major fleets are qualified to use it. It has fast speed, fierce firepower, and thick armor, and is deeply loved by mecha divisions. Of course, this mecha is not allowed to be used by civilians. The opponent's mecha does not have military identification code, so it is obvious that this mecha is not from a legitimate source. The terrifying corpse vulture mecha has two forms, humanoid and vulture. At this time, the opponent adopted the form of a corpse vulture, which has better maneuverability. The opponent is obviously a veteran and has been making irregular maneuvering flights, slowly approaching the space station. Xia Xingchen named the Liuhuo mecha rifle at the corpse vulture mecha and opened fire. 3 bursts of sniper fire. Old Sam in the terrifying corpse vulture mecha on the opposite side injected himself with a dream angel before attacking. At this time, his mental power surged. He was in good shape. Suddenly, an extremely dangerous intuition appeared. He didn't have time to think and instinctively made an evasive action. 3 orange lasers brushed past the body of the mecha. One of the lasers knocked off a small part of the tip of the griffin's wing. The mecha rolled quickly and turned into a human form in midair. The mecha's arms were equipped with quadruple laser cannons, firing in the direction of the laser attack. Xia Xingchen quickly hid behind the resource satellite. In a short moment, Sam broke out in a cold sweat. If he hadn't taken drugs just now, his mental power would have surged now, plus the fighting instincts formed over the years. He would probably have gone to see the god of death now. At this time, he stabilized the mecha, turned on the detectors, and found the mecha 100 kilometers away. Asshole, go to hell. Sam roared, and the 8 laser cannons on the mecha poured out their anger on the Dragon Rider. Xia Xingchen dodged while shooting at the opponent with the mecha laser rifle. After only a few rounds, looking at the opponent's dodging movements and shooting level, Xia Xingchen knew that this was the most powerful opponent he had encountered so far. The Dragon Rider exchanged fire with the opponent's mecha. The opponent is very strong. It may be a B-class mecha division. All mecha divisions are on standby. Protect the spacecraft and don't come over. Everyone in the fleet was silent. They knew how terrible the B-class mecha division was. In the right battlefield environment, a B-class mecha division could even destroy their entire fleet. Xingchen, don't act recklessly. Let the large force support you. Van Horn said anxiously. Stay still, don't come up, and hold me back. Xia Xingchen shouted dissatisfiedly. Captain, Xia Xingchen is right. Zhang Yingying made her own suggestion. Facing a B-class mecha division, even if all the mecha divisions of the fleet went up, not only would it not be of any use, but it would distract Xia Xingchen and increase casualties. Van Horn bit his lip. He knew that Zhang Yingying was right. All mechas stay on standby and be ready to fight at any time. At this time, the Dragon Rider mecha and the Terracorps Vulture mecha were 30 kilometers apart, and the two mechas were firing at full power. Several rapid-fire cannons on the Terracorps Vulture mecha also opened fire, and Xia Xingchen had no choice but to use 3 floating cannons to join the battle in turn. Soon, the mechas of both sides met. Xia Xingchen used all his skills, fully activated the inside skill, and also used the mental clone skill. Despite this, the mecha was still hit by a lot of lasers. Fortunately, the Dragon Rider mecha was equipped with a light energy shield system when installing the nuclear engine, so it did not cause fatal damage, but it was also dangerous. After all, the opponents to quadruple laser cannons are not for show. The members of the 42nd Space Patrol Fleet were anxiously watching the fierce battle on the screen, and everyone's heart was in their throat. Zhang Yingying was very anxious, but her brain was working at high speed. She stared at the monitor closely. Her mind was working at high speed, analyzing various data. Captain, I have an idea. We can send small warships and mechas to raid the opponent's spacecraft. At that time, it will cause the opponent's mecha division to be distracted. Zhang Yingying suggested. Good idea, Yingying. Captain Van Horn's eyes lit up after hearing it. Listen to my orders. Tangyang Squadron 02, Squadron 03, Swordfish 01, Swordfish 02 spacecraft. Encircle the enemy's Postman-class transport ship from 2 directions. If there is resistance, it is allowed to destroy it. I will go personally, said Heinrich, the captain of the mecha squadron. The battle entered a white-hot stage, and Sam became more and more anxious. He felt that, although the opponent's mecha division was still a gap from his level, the opponent's mecha performance was very superior. Especially the opponent's use of the Dragoon system made him unable to defend against it. Xia Xingchen's mecha has a light shield system, but his mecha does not. Moreover, after such a long period of high power output, his mecha's energy is less than 30%, and the mecha has issued a yellow energy warning. At this time, he glanced at the screen, and his heart was broken. Several red spots on the screen were approaching his small spaceship at high speed. Once the small spaceship was destroyed, he would not be able to get away with defeating the mecha in front of him. And he really didn't have any energy to protect the spaceship now. Thinking of this, he decided to fight quickly. The two mechas staggered again, and Sam gave up the long-range attack and took out 2 light swords from the back of the mecha. Facing Xia Xingchen's Dragon Rider Flying General mecha, ready to go. Seeing this, Xia Xingchen threw the flowing fire mecha rifle aside, disconnected the flywheel behind him, and also pulled out 2 light swords. The thrusters behind the 2 mechas were fully opened, and they rushed towards each other at high speed. Sam used the combat skill Eagle Strike the Sky, and poured all his strength into the light swords. Xia Xingchen, on the other hand, spread his mental power over the surface of the light blade and the Dragon Rider mech. The huge impact force caused a shockwave to be generated at the contact point of the 2 mechas. Under the influence of the shockwave, the rock fragments in space flew in all directions like bullets. Sam was a little timid. He knew the power of his combat skills. Over the years, hundreds of mech masters had died under his combat skills. However, this was the first time he felt so helpless. The opponent's mech was so strong that it resisted his attack head-on without any damage. But the situation did not allow him to think too much. At this time, Xia Xingchen on the opposite side rushed up again. Sam was forced to cheer up and use his combat skills again. The 2 mechas collided again. However, this time, because of the hasty battle, Sam's moves were much weaker than the first time, while Xia Xingchen became more and more courageous. Finally, when the 2 mechas collided for the 4th time, Sam's Horrorcorps Vulture was knocked back dozens of meters and the mech lost its balance. Oh no, no. Sam cried out secretly. However, at this time, Xia Xingchen's Dragon Rider's mecha 6 floating cannons had already been aimed at the Terracorps Vulture mecha. With a volley, 6 lasers converged on one point. Sam instinctively controlled the mecha to raise his forearm to resist. Because although there was no shield on the forearm of his mecha, it had 2 layers of thickened armor. The violent explosion knocked the mecha over, and the Terracorpse Vulture turned over. At this time, an orange-yellow laser appeared in front of him. Where did this laser come from? This was the last thought of old Sam. Chapter 208 Battle Summary. We won. Seeing the terrifying Corpse Vulture mecha explode into a ball of fire on the screen, all the members of the 42nd Space Patrol Fleet jumped up happily. They celebrated happily. However, many people had questions in their hearts. Where did the deadly orange laser come from at the end? Xia Xingchen silently recovered his equipment. First he put back the flywheel, then the 6 floating guns, and finally the mecha laser rifle. Tangyang 01, please return to the ship. We have controlled the situation. Captain Van Horn gave the order. Understood, Captain. Dragon Rider flew the mecha back to Tangyang. At this time, 2 mecha teams and 2 small warships had surrounded the Postman-class small spaceship. The detection system of this small spaceship was seriously damaged during the interstellar jump. When the mecha and spaceship of the 42nd Fleet were less than 100 kilometers away from it, they discovered it. It was too late to turn around and escape. Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich raised his mecha laser rifle and fired 4 shots in a row. The first 2 shots hit the spacecraft thrusters, and the other 2 shots hit the only 2 laser cannons on the small spacecraft. The Postman class was floating in space, losing power and the ability to resist. Old Sam's 2 sons wanted to activate the self-destruct system, but were shot by the 2 followers behind them. Then, they sent a light signal of surrender. 20 minutes later, the number 1 landing ship on the Saturn approached the Postman-class spacecraft, and 2 mechanical arms stretched out from it to firmly grasp the Postman-class spacecraft. More than a dozen infantry broke in. They arrested the 2 followers and transferred all the supplies on the spacecraft, especially the box of Dream Angel potion, to the landing ship. The spacecraft's navigation records and logbooks were also copied. After another 20 minutes, everyone returned. Before leaving, the infantry installed a time bomb on the engine of the small spacecraft. Not long after they left, Sam's spacecraft completely turned into space dust. Xia Xingchen's Dragon Rider mech slowly flew towards the Tangyang. At this time, the Tangyang sent out a light signal. The signal meant, "Welcome back, hero." Xia Xingchen smiled happily. The Dragon Rider mech landed smoothly on the landing platform on the top of the battleship, and the elevator recovered the mech into the Tangyang. The top of the battleship was closed, and a high-power vacuum cleaner cleaned the metal debris and space dust on the surface of the mech, and then the mech was sent into the mech warehouse by the conveyor belt. Xia Xingchen used the inside skill to scan the mech, and found that there was no major problem, so he opened the cockpit door. As soon as he walked out of the cockpit, he heard warm applause. He looked up and saw that it was all the mech maintenance technicians and the mech technicians who had returned. Xia Xingchen waved to them to express his gratitude, and then personally maintained the mech. Several other mech maintenance technicians also came up to help, and Xia Xingchen personally explained to them the matters that should be paid attention to when maintaining the Dragon Rider mech. His serious attitude made other mecha masters stand in awe, and they all returned to their mechas to check the condition of their mechas with the mecha repairman. At this time, the 2 captives and the spoils on Sam's spaceship were sent to the Saturn. The intelligence officer on the Saturn personally interrogated the 2 followers. In order to survive, the 2 followers confessed all the bad things Sam and his son had done over the years. Among them, the intelligence officer was shocked by the information that Nicholas used the drug Dream Angel as money during their trip to the Northern Administrative District, especially the large box of Dream Angel in the warehouse. The intelligence officer knew that they should be telling the truth, otherwise even 10 fleets of this size could not afford this box of psychedelic angel potion. This important information was quickly passed to Captain Van Horn. This matter was of great importance. Van Horn decided to return to Lowland Star immediately and report the matter to the fleet quickly. He also sent 3 teams of soldiers to take turns to guard the drugs. After dinner, all the mecha divisions and infantry gathered in the training room of Tangyang. The mecha divisions and infantry on other warships also sat in front of the big screen. Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich, the captain of the Mecha squadron, will comment and analyze today's battle situation. It has been more than 7 hours since the end of the battle. During this time, Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich and Captain Van Horn have been analyzing the battle videos on the warships and the participating mechas. Analysis, summary, and review after each battle are required by the military training code. However, many troops have ignored this fine tradition, and only the 3rd Fleet has persisted without compromise. Heinrich first summarized the performance of various departments in this battle. He was very angry that some soldiers did not fully devote themselves in the previous simulation exercises. He criticized several groups by name. It is not a happy thing to criticize by name in front of the entire fleet. Although those few people were dissatisfied, they could only bear it. Finally, it was Xia Xingchen's turn to comment on the battle. From the moment he discovered the enemy until the end of the battle, Heinrich divided the big screen into 3 parts: the video shot by the battleship, the first-person video of Xia Xingchen, and the data stream of Xia Xingchen's mecha. He played it 3 times normally, and then played the video of the battle several times in a quarter slow motion. Only then did the members of the fleet realize how Xia Xingchen defeated Old Sam. Old Sam found that his mecha had little energy left, and Van Horn sent Mechas and spaceships to attack their transport ships, forcing Old Sam to fight Xia Xingchen in close combat in order to quickly resolve the battle and rescue the spaceship. Before the close combat, Xia Xingchen threw the Liuho mecha rifle into space and removed the flywheel. Sam believed, based on common sense, that Xia Xingchen was going to completely abandon the Dragoon system and fight him to the death. Moreover, the mecha laser rifle and floating gun had already left his hands hundreds of meters away from Xia Xingchen, and he believed that Xia Xingchen had lost control of these weapons. It was such a naive idea that completely ruined his life. Xia Xingchen and Sam's mechas collided 4 times in a row. After the first collision, Xia Xingchen determined that his mecha had an advantage in strength, so he decided to pursue the victory. He first used continuous attacks to disrupt the opponent's rhythm, and then knocked over the opponent's mecha to make it lose balance. During this period of time, Xia Xingchen's mental clone had been controlling the floating gun and the flowing fire mecha rifle. He had been waiting for this opportunity. He had already anticipated that Sam should be able to block the volley of the floating gun, which was expected. But it was this blow that made Sam lose the opportunity to adjust the posture of the mecha. When his mecha lost balance for the 2nd time and turned upside down, Xia Xingchen controlled the flowing fire mecha rifle to shoot. The flowing fire mecha rifle is not only a powerful mecha laser rifle, it is a complete weapon system. As a quasi S-level mecha weapon, the flowing fire mecha rifle is equipped with a macro thruster and a mental force sensing device. Even if it is far away from the mecha, Xia Xingchen can use mental power to control it, and use the macro thruster to adjust the posture to shoot. Chapter 209 Battle Summary, Part 2. According to the news from our intelligence officer, the mecha master of the terrifying corpse vulture mecha, Major Xia Xingchen's opponent today, is a genuine B-class mecha master. As for Major Xia Xingchen's performance, I can say that he is much better than me. I will give the right to explain to Major Xia Xingchen here, and let him comment on this battle, because he knows better what he was thinking at the time. Major Xia Xingchen, please don't be modest and reserved, just say what you think. Such a high-level battle will be of great help to the improvement of your comrades. Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich said. His frankness made all the crew members and Xia Xingchen very happy. At least this is a commander who dares to face and tolerates his subordinates who are stronger than himself. Under such a commander, you can play freely without fear of being bullied. Many people become officers and are afraid that their subordinates are stronger than themselves due to jealousy and other psychological factors. Soldiers are afraid of such superiors. They will try their best to suppress and exclude you. Maybe one day they will let you take the blame or even be cannon fodder. Xia Xingchen sorted out his thoughts and said, "Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich and everyone for your trust. I was lucky to win today's battle. I summarized that there are 3 main reasons why we were able to win. First, the comprehensive suppression of mecha performance. My Dragon Rider mecha has a nuclear-powered engine, red light thrusters, and a light shield system and a Dragon cavalry system. The Terracorp's Vulture mecha of the opposing mecha division is just a general purpose mecha that has been slightly modified. In terms of mecha parameters, the comprehensive parameters of the Dragon Rider mecha are more than 10 points higher than those of the Terracorp's Vulture. This can be said to have formed a crushing in mecha performance, making up for the technical gap between me and the opponent. Second, I was the first to discover the opponent, occupy a favorable terrain, and gain the upper hand, so I had a psychological advantage. If it was the opponent who attacked at that time, I would not be sure to survive. Third, thanks to Captain Van Horn for sending troops to raid the mothership of the opponent's mecha division in time, which distracted the opponent and forced him to have a decisive battle with me in advance. The above 3 points are important factors for my victory. Let me analyze the battle between me and the opponent. First of all, after I found the opponent's mecha, I found a bunker and hid in it as soon as possible. At this time, you must first observe the number, position, and movement trajectory of the enemy. An experienced mecha master can analyze the level of the mecha master from the actions of the opponent's mecha. At that time, I saw the Terracorp's Vulture mecha performing irregular maneuvers very calmly, and the movements were particularly smooth. I knew that the opponent was not easy to mess with. The facts also prove this point. My 3-shot sniper kill was easily avoided by him. This shows that the opponent's mental power and battlefield prediction sense are very strong. I judged that his level was above the sea level mecha master at that time. The Terracorp's Vulture mecha was very calm after being shot. His maneuvering dodge was untraceable, and he quickly adjusted the form of the mecha. Once a beast type mecha is shot in space, it is difficult to maintain the balance of the mecha, so his choice is very wise. He quickly changes the form of the mecha and takes the opportunity of deformation to achieve irregular dodge. The opponent's mecha division chose to fight me in close combat. Although he was forced to do so, I can say responsibly that he underestimated the enemy. According to common sense, the mecha of the Dragoon mecha has poor close combat ability, so he made such a choice. Moreover, he believed that my floating gun and mecha laser rifle had exceeded the range of the normal Dragoon system, so he ignored their threat. This is a minsert, a fatal minsert. How many mecha divisions died from the minsert brought about by this common sense? I hope this will serve as a warning to everyone. Xia Xingchen's review ended, and the entire fleet gave him a warm applause. The fleet moved at full speed and returned to the Laulant Star space station in just 3 days. Captain Van Horn and the intelligence officer quickly reported their findings to the commander of the 3rd Fleet, von Klosch, using an encrypted communication channel. Von Klosch was at the headquarters of the 3rd Fleet on Lubenstar at this time. After listening to Van Horn's report, he immediately connected to the communication of Marshal von Bismarck of the Imperial Army. "Marshal, there is urgent information. Please take a look." Von Klosch had a serious expression. Marshal von Bismarck on the opposite side saw that his son had a serious expression and used such a title and knew that something big had happened. Under normal circumstances, von Klosch would call him father. He carefully read the information sent by von Klosch, was extremely angry, and slapped the operating table. "This is outrageous. Nicholas is simply unscrupulous and inhumane. Father, I'm really glad that his paralysis plan failed. At least now the initiative is in our hands. Otherwise, the consequences will be disastrous. You should step up preparations for war and increase the intensity of crackdowns on smuggling ships in border areas. If anyone breaks through by force, they must be destroyed resolutely and cannot be tolerated. Leave the government to me," the Grand Marshal said. "Yes, father." "Oh, how were your casualties this time? A B-level mecha division is not easy to deal with. Think about how powerful the Dream Angel is to let such a person engage in smuggling." The old Marshal felt that a small fleet facing a B-class mecha division would only win a miserable victory even if it won. "Father, we suffered 0 casualties. We only dispatched 1 mecha division to defeat him in a single fight. When did your 3rd Fleet become so awesome that the squadrons of the reserve fleet are equipped with B-class mecha divisions?" "No, father, the one who defeated the opponent was a military academy student, a C-class mecha division, and an old acquaintance of ours." Von Klosch laughed. "Old acquaintance?" The old Marshal frowned and thought about it. In his circle, he had come into contact with hundreds of A-class mecha divisions. He really had no impression of C-class mecha divisions. Let me remind you that he is Nicholas' nemesis. Oh, haha, I see. It's that kid Xia Xingchen again. This is a great achievement and must be rewarded. Both the fleet and the individual will be rewarded heavily. Yes, father. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Reward for Merit. After ending the video call with Admiral von Klausch, Marshal von Pies urgently contacted De Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Empire. A day later, Minister De Yunfei brought the information fed back by the intelligence departments of various places. In just 1 month, the troops of various places seized a large number of Dream Angel drugs from the border areas of the Eastern Administrative District and the Western Administrative District, a total of 8 batches. This is almost more than the total amount of drugs seized by the Drug Enforcement Department of the Galaxy Empire in the past 10 years. Soon, this investigation report appeared in the emergency meeting of the Imperial Cabinet. After reading the investigation report, the ministers were filled with indignation. And the Emperor Kinzeng of the Empire was disheartened after reading it. He has now completely given up on Nicholas. Originally, he still had a little fantasy about Prince Nicholas in his heart, but now, his heart is broken. In order to seize his throne, Nicholas actually used such a bad method. The lingering and vows of love in the past turned out to be a naked scam, not even a transaction. The ministers, regardless of their factions, reached an unprecedented consensus on this matter and severely punished Nicholas. That night, Emperor Kinzeng of the Empire stayed in the bathroom all night and took a bath all night. He wanted to clean his dirty soul. The next day, the Galactic Empire issued another statement condemning Prince Nicholas for making and selling the drug Dream Angel, and showed a lot of evidence to make Nicholas's conspiracy public. The Galactic Empire asked Nicholas to stop selling Dream Angel quickly and go to Xia and Star for trial immediately. At the same time, a warning was issued to those who sold, transported, held and smoked Dream Angel. Once discovered, they would be executed immediately, and the informants would be rewarded heavily. This move was supported by the citizens of the entire Galactic Empire, while those interstellar adventurers who planned to take this opportunity to make a fortune complained one by one. Although the money was attractive, the intelligence department of the Empire had already set its sights on this area, and the risk of exposure and being caught was greatly increased. The most unethical point was to reward the informants heavily. The smugglers worked hard to get the Dream Angel drugs from the north. If their subordinates had some crooked ideas and reported them at this time, they would not only be exempted from responsibility, but also receive a large bonus. Such a deal is really not easy to do. In the face of the accusation, the attitude of the Northern Administrative District is still denial. They pointed out that this is a conspiracy of the Galactic Empire to discredit Prince Nicholas. They want to deny it and muddy the water. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that in recent years, only the people of the Northern Empire have been able to break through the layers of blockades and come to the place where the Devil Flower is produced to obtain the materials of the Dream Angel. No one except Prince Nicholas's people can do this. After the Tangyang returned to the Lowland Star Space Station, it quickly began to rest and replenish the spacecraft. However, the order they received was to stand by. So all combat members, led by Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich and Lieutenant Colonel Xia Xingchen, came to the military training center of Watchstar for increased intensity special training. The training ground here can reach the level of 5 times gravity, and several special gravity rooms can reach the level of 10 times gravity. Xia Xingchen prepared the training outline and asked Lieutenant Colonel Heinrich to supervise the training of this group of people. He and Hugo plunged into the training room with 10 times gravity for special training. Although ordinary people can't even stand up in that environment, these two martial arts fanatics don't care about this at all. The two of them stayed in there and didn't come out. 5 days later, there was news from the Xia and Star Military Department that Xia Xingchen won a second-class individual merit once. and the 42nd Space Patrol Fleet won a third-class collective merit once. The merit levels of the Galactic Empire are divided into individual merit and collective merit. Individual merits are divided into third-class merit, second-class merit, first-class merit, bronze star medal, silver star medal, and gold star medal from low to high. Among them, 3 third-class merits are equivalent to 1 second-class merit, and 3 second-class merits are equivalent to 1 first-class merit. If you get 3 first-class merits, you can get a bronze star medal. 3 bronze star medals can be exchanged for a silver star medal, and 3 silver star medals can be exchanged for a gold star medal. Collective merits are divided into 3 classes, second class and first class. These merits are based on warships, and accumulated on each warship. When a warship obtains 3 collective first class merits, it will be awarded the title of heroic warship. After accumulating 3 heroic warship merits, it can be upgraded to the title of legendary warship, and accumulating 3 legendary warship merits can be awarded the title of mythical warship. Gaining merits is not just about gaining honors, but also about huge material rewards. There are a large number of war merit points that can be exchanged for various money, privileges, weapons, and equipment, etc. Warships can also use merit points to exchange for funds and equipment to upgrade themselves and improve their combat effectiveness. The merit system of the Galactic Empire has been gradually explored and tried for thousands of years, and finally standardized. It can greatly improve the morale of the troops and inspire the fighting spirit of the soldiers. It should be said that the credit this time is mainly Xia Xingchen's, and the 42nd Space Patrol Fleet mainly benefited from him. The collective third-class merit of Tonggyang offset the collective serious demerit punishment on their ship, which is also a result that Captain Van Horn is quite satisfied with. Seeing that his men had been training very hard these days, he finally showed mercy and gave them a few days off. Early in the morning, although it was a holiday, Xia Xingchen and Hugo still gave B Morlan and the 2 brothers Liping and Lipang a special lesson. In addition to completing the training with the main force these days, the 3 of them were dragged into the training room with a 5 times gravity environment. The 3 of them were miserable and decided to give up the opportunity to relax on the ship and stay on the ship, sleeping, which was their most extravagant thing now. At this time, Zhang Yingying and Vivian came to invite Xia Xingchen to go shopping together. Xia Xingchen agreed. He and Hugo accompanied the 2 ladies to go shopping crazily in the shopping mall, acting as bodyguards and porters. Women are very scary when they go shopping. Even the physically strong Terami people can't stand it. Accompanying women shopping is a torture for men. This torture is not only physical, but also mental. For the same product, they can try it again and again, compare prices from 3 stores, and bargain from store to store. Although these 2 young ladies are not short of money, they enjoy this process very much. What impressed the 2 men the most was that, after walking for several hours, the 2 ladies were able to find an inconspicuous shop they visited a few hours ago in the huge market without the help of a map. But the most tormenting thing was that the 2 ladies always asked the 2 men if the clothes looked good after trying them on. Such questions were simply like talking to a cow for Xia Xingchen, who had no concept of aesthetics, and the Terami people, whose aesthetics were completely different from those of humans. Finally, after the Terami people told the truth several times, the 2 ladies, who were deeply shocked, let them go. Chapter 211, The Soldier's Revenge. It was already past 5 in the afternoon when they helped the 2 ladies deliver the things back to the warship. They went to the restaurant of the military club to eat together. They just had to return to the team before midnight. In the restaurant of the military club, the 4 of them asked for a big table and enjoyed a sumptuous dinner. Hugo liked human food very much. The main food for them, the Terami people, on Furustar was all kinds of barbecue with all kinds of raw plants. And the human food culture is too broad and profound. At this time, there was a commotion at the door of the restaurant. Go and see. Something happened, and there's going to be another fight. I heard that the soldiers on the Tonggyang and the group of soldiers on Lowland Star are going to fight again. Major Sanchez brought people here, and he wants to do it himself. Xia Xingchen quickly swiped his card to pay the bill. Yingying, Vivian, you 2 go back to the Tonggyang first, and Hugo and I will go to take a look. We'll go with you to see the excitement. Vivian said. Zhang Yingying took his hand. Stop it, Sister Vivian. If a fight breaks out we will be a burden, and Xingchen will have to be distracted to protect us. Well, Xingchen, be careful. Xia Xingchen nodded and took Hugo to the military club. At this time, a dozen soldiers of the Tangyang ship led by Captain Jadal were knocked to the ground, and they were bleeding from their noses and mouths, and they were all seriously injured. There were 70 or 80 soldiers on the opposite side. Judging from the armbands, they were all from the Lowland Star garrison. One of them was a major, a big man nearly 2 meters tall, with his hands clasped in front of his chest, looking at the Tangyang soldiers lying on the ground with contempt. There was also a soldier next to him who was pointing fingers. It turned out that the big man was called Sanchez, and the soldier next to him was his younger brother, who was one of the soldiers who molested the female soldiers of the Tangyang a few days ago and was beaten. He was beaten badly in the last fight, and because he called many helpers, these people were also dragged into the fire pit. Later, he was scolded by the chief of his own army when he returned, and he was punished and fined half a year's salary. He couldn't swallow this breath. When he heard that the Tangyang was back, he went to his brother, Major Sanchez, the commander of the Infantry Special Warfare Battalion of the Lowland Star Garrison, to help him vent his anger. Major Sanchez brought 40 people, all of whom were elite soldiers of the Infantry Special Warfare Battalion of Lowland Star. Today, there were only a dozen soldiers of the Tangyang at the military club, led by Jadal. The last battle was triggered by girls, so none of the girls on the ship came today. The two sides met, and they started fighting directly without saying a word. Due to the disadvantage in numbers and the fact that the opponent was an elite special forces soldier among the infantry, Jadal and his men were knocked to the ground. Everyone was seriously injured, and several had broken bones. Colonel Sanchez came to Jadal and looked at him with contempt. Boy, you will pay the price for daring to hit my brother. You are not capable of bullying the weak with your numbers. If you dare, challenge me in a one-on-one duel. Jadal said stubbornly with blood on the corner of his mouth. Boy, you are too naive. On the battlefield, whoever has the bigger fist is the justice. So what if there is a group fight? Sanchez said complacently. Come on, break one leg and one arm of each of them. I will take the punishment. You lunatic, you will be court-martial. In Lowland Star, I'm the king. Who dares to send me to court-martial? Sanchez said arrogantly. His brother-in-law was Major General Leo, the commander of the Lowland Star Garrison Fleet. Major General Leo was henpecked and obeyed his wife's words. Under the care of their brother-in-law, the Sanchez brothers were rampant on Lowland Star. But if you want me to let you go, you must all kneel down and kowtow to my two brothers, and find 4 of the most beautiful girls on your ship to accompany my 2 brothers for one night. I will consider giving you a lighter sentence. Sanchez thought for a while and said, pooh. A mouthful of bloody phlegm shot out of Captain Jadal's mouth and went straight to Sanchez's face. Sanchez dodged, with a hint of murderous intent in the corner of his eyes. You don't want to live anymore. Come on, break all their limbs. He was completely enraged, and Jadal was a little desperate at this time. With broken limbs like this, since it was not caused in training and combat, the military would not pay the high medical costs, and the only outcome waiting for them was to be kicked out of the army. The soldiers behind Sanchez were about to continue hurting people, but Xia Xingchen and Hugo arrived in time. In order to stop them, Xia Xingchen used all his strength and shouted, "Stop!" This sound was like a bolt from the blue, and people who were on the same line of sound covered their ears one after another. It is said that this is also a powerful ancient martial art called Lion's Roar. Xia Xingchen came closer, squatted down and supported Captain Jadal. What's going on? Captain Jadal told Xia Xingchen the whole story. When Xia Xingchen heard that the other party was going to break the limbs of these dozen comrades, he was completely furious. Xia Xingchen stood up, staring at Sanchez, emitting a strong murderous aura that spread in the space, and the crowd watching around couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Sanchez also frowned. He deeply felt that the man in front of him and the Terami man were not easy to mess with. Moreover, Xia Xingchen was a major and was already a senior officer. Not to mention crippling him, even if he was seriously injured, it would cost a lot to deal with him. He was a little embarrassed. Brother, what are you afraid of him doing? We have my brother-in-law to protect us, even if he is beaten to death. It doesn't matter. If we admit our fear, how can we two brothers survive on Laulandstar in the future? The soldier saw that Sanchez was a little shaken and firmly used the skills of a stupid teammate. Perhaps because he was used to being domineering over the years, Sanchez was persuaded by his younger brother. What are you looking at? I say it again, you all kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistakes, and then let the foremost beautiful girls on your ship sleep with my brother and me for one night, and I will spare your lives. Otherwise, your limbs will be broken. Even if you are a major, you will be treated the same. Sanchez said bluntly. Aren't you afraid of military law? Xia Xingchen looked at him coldly. Military law? I'm the military law on Laulandstar. Stop talking nonsense. Xia Xingchen looked around. He said to the onlookers around him, everyone has seen it. Please be my witnesses. I will defend myself next. Many people in the crowd had already recorded the incident with small cameras and personal terminals. Xia Xingchen decided to kill him. The other party was very arrogant and fearless. It seemed difficult to resolve today's incident. However, he had to find a legitimate reason for himself. The pinhole camera on his personal terminal had been pointed at Sanchez. His words had long been recorded and uploaded to the main control computer of the Tangyang and the local area network of the 3rd Fleet. Boy, you are looking for death. Sanchez punched Xia Xingchen in the face. Xia Xingchen turned around and dodged, saying to Hugo, leave this to me, and the rest is yours. Don't hold back, just don't kill anyone. Chapter 212 Retaliation. A dozen soldiers on the Tangyang, led by Captain Jardel, were retaliated by the Laulandstar soldiers. They were knocked down by enemies that were several times their number. Colonel Sanchez, the brother-in-law of Major General Leo, the commander of the Laulandstar garrison fleet, led a group of special forces to attack Jardel and his men and wanted to break their limbs. At this critical moment, Xia Xingchen arrived. He instructed Hugo and launched a fierce attack on Sanchez, who started the fight first, and Hugo rushed into the flock like a lion. Sanchez also punched in response to Xia Xingchen's attack. The two of them fought with fists and feet. Although Sanchez was tall and muscular, he was still beaten back 2 or 3 steps. He looked at the man in front of him who was not very strong with some disbelief. He didn't know where this strength came from. With just one move, Xia Xingchen judged the opponent's level. Sanchez's strength and agility were good, but they were just good, and his martial arts were just common goods taught within the military. He was not an opponent of the same level as himself. Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen sped up. He wanted to make a quick decision and help Hugo. The 36 style tiger moves were used, and Xia Xingchen's speed increased rapidly. His movements were so fast that they could not be seen clearly. Sanchez hit him with a heavy punch. Xia Xingchen dodged to the left and hit Sanchez's stomach with his right fist. He felt a piercing pain in his abdomen and curled up suddenly. Xia Xingchen kicked him in the chin from bottom to top. Sanchez's body flew 5 or 6 meters away and fell heavily to the ground. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and he was unconscious. His chin and many bones in his body had been broken. After dealing with the leader, Xia Xingchen looked back and found that more than 30 people were lying on the ground. Hugo was in a killing mood and used his full strength. Those who were hit in the limbs by him immediately had fractures. If they were hit in the body, they would basically fly 7 or 8 meters away and fall to the ground and never get up again. Xia Xingchen joined the battle. A minute later, none of the people brought by Sanchez could still stand, not even a complete one. All the onlookers stared at the 2 humanoid monsters in amazement. The last one to be knocked down was the soldier. He was kicked in the crotch by Xia Xingchen, and the combat skill breaking eggs was used again. The soldier fainted from the pain. Xia Xingchen and Hugo went to check the injuries of their comrades. Some of them had broken bones. The special combat brigade members brought by Sanchez mastered the martial arts of killing with one blow, and they did not hold back at all. They were beaten badly. Xia Xingchen helped them deal with the wounds simply and contacted Tangyang to send a car to transport the wounded. A few minutes later, a troop of nearly 100 people arrived here. They were frightened by the wailing crowd. The leader was a lieutenant colonel. These soldiers were armed with real guns and nuclear bombs, and they also brought 2 mechas. The people who came looked at the wounded on the ground, and there was another group of people on the opposite side, led by a major and aliens. We are from the military court. Who beat them? The lieutenant colonel pointed at the crowd on the ground with a bad look on his face. Xia Xingchen stepped forward and saluted. Report to the commander. I beat them. This group of people sent people to beat my comrades with their numbers and even broke their limbs. I came up to stop them, and they beat me too. I was acting in self-defense. The people around saw it, and they have the video. A crowd of people fighting in the space station, beating people seriously. Is it justified? Come on, send the injured to the hospital for emergency treatment. Take all these people away. This lieutenant colonel was promoted by Major General Liu. It can be said that he is the biggest accomplice of the Sanchez brothers. When he saw that the Sanchez brothers were in danger of life and death, he immediately sat crooked. Several soldiers came up behind him, handcuffed Xia Xingchen and Hugo, and handcuffed the other soldiers on the Tangyang. My comrades are all injured, very seriously, and they also need treatment. Stop talking nonsense, take them away. The lieutenant colonel didn't give any face at all. Xia Xingchen stared at him coldly and said, since you are from the military court, I hope you can be objective and fair and enforce the law in accordance with the law. Otherwise, you will not be able to bear the consequences. The lieutenant colonel was very angry when he saw Xia Xingchen's attitude. But he didn't dare to go too far in front of so many people. He planned to take Xia Xingchen to a secret place and give him a good beating. It would be best to create an accident and injure him. At this time, all military departments of Lowland Star were in chaos. The soldiers of the Tangyang who came to rescue after hearing the news found that their comrades had been taken away by the military court and hurriedly reported the news to Captain Van Horn. Van Horn saw the video of the scene on the local area network. Someone also sent him the information of the Sanchez brothers. Van Horn frowned, and he felt that there would be big trouble. Intelligence shows that Major General Liu is a henpecked person. The Sanchez brothers' arrogance and Lowland Star over the years is mainly due to his connivance. Moreover, it was the military court that came forward in this incident, not the military court and the military police together. The military court is a soldier management agency established within each squadron, and the commander of each squadron is the big boss of the military court. The military police are different. They are affiliated with the royal family and are independent agencies. They are directly responsible to the emperor and mainly combat serious illegal and criminal activities of soldiers. Like the fight a few days ago, due to its large scale, the military court and the military police were dispatched. Now, only the military court appeared alone to deal with the matter. This is clearly a trick. If the military court uses some crooked ideas and some tricks, these soldiers are likely to be charged by the military court, forced to leave the army or even go to prison. What makes Van Horn even more headache is that the main figure here is Xia Xingchen. If such a person leaves the army, it will be a great loss for the military. So he quickly contacted Major General Dodge, the commander of the 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire, and explained the seriousness of the matter. Major General Dodge frowned. After watching the video carefully, he also found that there were big problems here, including the military court troops. Such a large-scale force was assembled in 10 minutes, fully armed, and ran more than 10 roads to rescue. This is impossible to do under normal circumstances. When did the Empire's army have such efficiency? The problem is that he is at the same level as Major General Liu, and his words may not be effective. However, his men were treated unfairly, and he had to step forward, both publicly and privately. Chapter 213 Mediation by all parties. Xia Xingchen was taken away by the military court of the Lowland Star Garrison Fleet. Captain Van Horn felt that something was wrong. He was afraid that Major General Liu would take the opportunity to retaliate for personal gain. So he quickly contacted Major General Dodge, the commander of the 6th Fleet of the 3rd Fleet of the Galaxy Military. Major General Dodge said that he would communicate with Major General Liu about this matter. At this time, in the office of the commander of the Lowland Star Garrison, a woman was lying on the ground and rolling around. She was Major General Liu's wife. The guards and adjutants on the side wanted to laugh, but they didn't dare to, so they could only hold it in. Major General Liu was furious. All of you get out. No one is allowed to come in without my consent. The guards and adjutants ran outside to laugh, as if they had been pardoned. It turned out that the impact of this incident was so great that it had reached the ears of Major General Leo's wife. At this time, the diagnosis results of the Sanchez brothers also came out. Major Sanchez had 3 broken ribs, severe concussion, comminuted fracture of the jaw, fracture of the clavicle, and severe contusion of the lumbar vertebrae. This was all caused by Xia Xingchen's kick. As for that soldier, his corpus cavernosum was torn, and his 2 testicles were smashed. Major General Leo's wife doted on her 2 younger brothers the most. She was furious and asked Major General Leo to severely punish Xia Xingchen, asking him to pay with his life and all the other soldiers of the Tangyang to be imprisoned. Major General Leo was in a very difficult situation. Although the military court also had jurisdiction over soldiers from other troops in their territory, Xia Xingchen was a senior officer, and if they wanted to punish him, they had to obtain the consent of the other fleet. The most critical issue was that the truth of the matter was now known to everyone, and taking them to the military court was already a serious violation of the law. According to his idea, it would be enough to expel these people from the army and ask them to pay for medical expenses. Who knew that his wife knew about this matter and refused to give in and had to take Xia Xingchen's life. Okay, stop making trouble. I will definitely deal with them seriously. You dead ghost, deal with them seriously? How are you going to deal with them? My 2 poor brothers, they didn't enjoy the good life with me, and no one cared when they were beaten like this. The woman rolled on the ground. Fortunately, the soundproofing in the office is very good, otherwise the whole garrison would know about it. My dear, when have I ignored them? Whenever they cause trouble, I always protect them and clean up the mess. I will definitely teach them a lesson. But I can't do what you said. He is a senior officer. I don't have the right. If I really kill him, I will lose my official position. Major General Leo knelt on the ground and tried to persuade him. You selfish ghost, you only think about your official position. If it's gone, it's gone. I also want to avenge my brother. You are a heartless little guy. You were a soldier with nothing back then. I was blind to marry you. You are rich now and don't want me anymore. What I said is useless, right? Major General Leo's wife brought up the old calendar again, and the Major General suddenly had a headache. He is a man who values feelings, but it is precisely because of this that he is controlled by his wife. His wife takes advantage of this and firmly controls him. Okay, I'll kill him, or at least cripple that guy. Okay, you have to give me a few days. I have to think of a way. Anyway, I will definitely satisfy you. The woman said she was tired and had enough of the trouble. Seeing her man let go, she left the office contentedly. Major General Leo cleaned up the messy office by himself, holding the few remaining hairs tightly with both hands, thinking hard about countermeasures. At this time, his communicator suddenly rang. He connected the communicator, and it was Major General Dodge on the other side. Hello, Major General Leo. Oh, hello, General Dodge. What's the matter? At this time, Leo had roughly guessed the other party's intention. This is the case. Today, there were some misunderstandings between the soldiers of our 2 fleets. My men were taken away by the soldiers of your military court. I want to bring my soldiers back and find out the truth. If they are indeed wrong, I will definitely deal with them seriously. Dodge's words were full of meaning. He would only deal with them seriously if his soldiers made mistakes. If there were no mistakes, then of course he would not deal with them. Not yet, General Dodge. This case is very bad. Dozens of my soldiers, or l'élite, were severely injured. Several of them almost died. If I don't give them an explanation, how can I lead the troops in the future? Major General Leo said with an unhappy face. Is that so? I'm waiting for your investigation, but I hope your men can treat my soldiers well. I hope you can strictly enforce the law in accordance with the regulations. I don't need you to teach me how to do it. Anyway, if you beat someone, you have to pay the corresponding price. Major General Leo was furious and cut off the communication. At this point, Major General Dodge knew that the matter had gotten out of control. In order not to cause more trouble, he quickly contacted General von Klosch, the commander of the 3rd Fleet. Von Klosch listened, and his expression was very solemn. I will take the 1st Squadron to Laulandstar immediately. You give me some time. I will arrive in 3 or 4 days. You must keep it secret. Don't let him jump off the wall and hurt Xia Xingchen. General von Klorsch was very calm and thoughtful. Thank you, General. You're welcome. This is what we should do. After the communication ended, von Klorsch planned to set off for Laulandstar, but he felt uneasy, so he quickly contacted his father, Imperial Marshal von Bismarck. What? Someone wants to harm Xia Xingchen? The old marshal first watched the video, and then looked at Captain Van Horn's intelligence and analysis, and was furious at the time. Yes, father. If Xia Xingchen has any problems, it will bring great losses to our army. So, I have to deal with this matter personally. However, that Liu is a major general after all, and I have no right to deal with him, so I would like to ask for your help. Although General von Klorsch is already an admiral and the highest commander of the 3rd Fleet, Liu is a major general. Without the order of the military, von Klorsch has no way to deal with him directly. This son of a bitch, bullying others by taking advantage of his power, wanting to bend the law for personal gain, right? Well, today I will also take advantage of my power to bully others. Third brother, I will give you authorization. You can fully represent the army. If that kid dares to touch Xingchen, I allow you to kill him on the spot. You go quickly. Yes, father. Chapter 214 Forced Confession. Poor Major General Liu didn't know that he was on the blacklist of General von Klorsch and Marshal von Bismarck. Regardless of whether he took action against Xia Xingchen, his career as a major general had come to an end. The old marshal was particularly indignant that he indulged his relatives in all kinds of evil. Liu thought for a long time and found his confidant hence, the lieutenant colonel who took Xia Xingchen away, and the head of the military law department of Laulandstar. Hence, what's the situation? Major General Liu asked. General, it's not good. There are too many witnesses present. Major Sanchez and his brother are indeed a little too arrogant, so it's difficult to convict them. Hence, you are my capable general. I also know that this matter is difficult, but my wife has a very good relationship with his 2 brothers. I really can't swallow this breath. I think you know. Is there any way to make this Xia Xingchen disabled or dead? Major General Liu's tone was full of cold murderous intent. This Lieutenant Colonel Hens hesitated. It was not impossible to do so, but the price was too high. He was considering whether it was worth taking the risk for the sake of his position. As long as you help me do this, I will not treat you unfairly. I may temporarily wrong you and transfer you to a sinecure, but as soon as the news passes, I will immediately re-employ you. I promise that I will let you work less for at least 7 or 8 years. What do you think? Hens made up his mind and decided to take a gamble. General, let me find someone to torture them and make them admit that they provoked me first. Then I will force Xia Xingchen to confess. I think Xia Xingchen will definitely not give in. Then, I will create an opportunity for him to resist and give him a chance to escape or even grab weapons. Then, my people will have a reason to shoot him dead. What do you think of this? Good idea. Major General Liu was very satisfied. This way, he had an excuse and the pressure he faced was much less. This hens, it seems, is not only good at flattery, but also has many tricks. Xia Xingchen and a dozen of his comrades were taken to a large cell. Their handcuffs were finally opened, but their personal terminals and all weapons, including Hugo's alloy dagger, were also taken away. Under Xia Xingchen's strong protest, the guards provided medicines, splints and other tools. Xia Xingchen personally treated the wounds of his comrades. Xia Xingchen secretly took out an object the size of a lighter from the space of his portable mecha and handed it to Hugo. It was a small electric knife. Hide it in your sleeve. This is a light knife. You know how to use it. If someone wants to harm you, you are allowed to fight back. Try not to kill people. But if there is a risk of life, don't be polite. Hugo nodded. Unexpectedly, for 3 consecutive days, no one came to interrogate them, but someone came to deliver food and medicine on time. This was also one of Lieutenant Colonel Hens's tricks. He planned to keep these people awake, so that they would lose their composure in anxiety and make mistakes more easily. Xia Xingchen noticed that some of his comrades were in a bad mood, so he stepped forward to comfort them and led them in meditation. It was not until the 5th day that the door of the cell was opened and Xia Xingchen was taken out. Today, Hens wanted to interrogate him. Xia Xingchen was taken into an interrogation room. There was a chair with shackles and a small table opposite. Xia Xingchen sat on the chair with his hands locked on the armrests. At the other end of the table were Lieutenant Colonel Hens and 2 soldiers. Name: Xia Xingchen. Unit you belong to? Captain of the 01st Mecha Squadron of Tangyang, the 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire. Xia Xingchen, do you admit your guilt? Hens' face suddenly darkened, and he asked viciously. Xia Xingchen looked at him with contempt and said, everyone present saw that I was acting in self-defense. Those Laulan soldiers bullied our female crew members and were stopped by my comrades. Today they came to retaliate, not only injuring my comrades, but also breaking their limbs. I said I was acting in self-defense. What a joke. If it was self-defense, you would stand here unscathed, while those you beat were seriously injured or even disabled. This is intentional injury and premeditated murder. I even suspect that you are a spy sent by Nicholas in order to discredit Xia Xingchen. Hens put several big hats on him in succession. Ha 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 ha. It's really easy to find excuses. Let me guess. The Sanchez who was beaten is General Leo's brother-in-law. You, a running dog, used such a despicable method to discredit me in order to curry favor with your superiors. Xia Xingchen looked at him teasingly, and Hens felt that he was stripped naked and had no secrets in front of him. Oh, I'm so angry. You're too arrogant. Hens stood up and turned to walk out of the interrogation room. As he walked, he told his 2 trusted men, give him a taste of pain. Oh, I forgot to tell you that the surveillance in the interrogation room is broken. I need to find someone to fix it this afternoon. Yes, Lieutenant Colonel. The 2 lackeys each picked up an electric baton and walked towards Xia Xingchen with a grin. Hens' words just now were telling the 2 that there was no surveillance, so the 2 of them could fight as they pleased. Looking at the 2 people approaching slowly, Xia Xingchen was well prepared. When he entered the room, he used his inside skill to scan the entire room and had already discovered the problem of surveillance failure. He was very calm and well prepared. A lackey pressed the button of the electric baton, and the voltage and current intensity of the electric baton were adjusted. It would not electrocute or stun people, but it would cause great pain to people. Just when the electric baton was about to touch Xia Xingchen's body, his body bounced up in the air like a spring, and his legs swept across, kicking the 2 people in the face. The 2 people flew out and hit the wall heavily. At this time, the handcuffs on Xia Xingchen's hands had been completely opened. In the face of mental power, it was not difficult to deal with this primitive tool. Xia Xingchen came to the 2 people who were struggling on the ground, smiled and said, there is an old saying that goes, don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you. You must have heard it, but you can see that you don't understand this sentence well. But it doesn't matter, I'll teach you. As he said this, he picked up 2 electric batons on the ground, pressed the button, and inserted the electrodes fiercely into the stomachs of the 2 people. The 2 struggled desperately for dozens of seconds, and finally stopped moving. Xia Xingchen threw away the electric baton, and walked out the door. Chapter 215, Escape from the Military Court. In the office building of the Military Law Department of the Laulan Star Garrison at the Laulan Star Space Station, Lieutenant Colonel Hens, who wanted to curry favor with his superiors, came up with a vicious plan. They wanted to torture Xia Xingchen and Hugo to force them to resist, and then kill them. After detaining them for 5 days, Hens began to act. However, he did not want to let Xia Xingchen escape during the first interrogation, because it would look too fake, and he would torture Xia Xingchen several more times to make him suffer, so as to win credit from his master. So he ordered his men to torture Xia Xingchen, and he left to go to other rooms to see the interrogation of others, especially the alien. After the little soldier woke up, he named Hugo and wanted to kill him. Lieutenant Colonel Hens said that there was no pressure to kill him. Hugo was taken to an interrogation room alone. There were 2 interrogators here. Lieutenant Colonel Hens came in to take care of them and then walked out of the room. One of the interrogators picked up an electric baton and walked towards Hugo. Hugo's hands were handcuffed behind the chair with a special thickened handcuff. Yugo looked at the man with contempt. Although the expressions of the Terami people were different from those of humans, everyone could understand this look. The interrogator was completely furious, but Lieutenant Colonel Hen said that he would be tortured to death. They were happy to follow orders. The interrogator pressed the button of the electric baton and pointed it at Yugo's head. Suddenly, a hand clamped his hand holding the electric baton like an iron clamp. Then, he saw that the wrist of that hand was still wearing a handcuff with a broken chain. Then, he was horrified to find that the Terami man actually stood up, and his eyes were murderous. Misunderstanding. This must be a misunderstanding. Yugo hit the interrogator with his head, and the interrogator fainted. Seeing that the situation was not good, another interrogator was ready to draw his gun. Yugo grabbed the man who was knocked unconscious and threw him directly as a weapon. Plop, crash, the two fainted together. It turned out that when the two men were about to torture Wugo with ill intentions, the small electric dagger that Xia Xingchen gave him slipped out of Wugo's sleeve and easily cut off the thick handcuffs. After knocking out the two interrogators, Wugo tried to open the door, but the door was locked from the inside. This design was mainly to prevent the interrogated people from escaping. Wugo took 2 steps back and prepared to use violence. At this time, Xia Xingchen opened the door from the outside. Follow me quickly. More than 10 rooms on this floor are interrogation rooms and confinement rooms. As soon as the two walked out of the room, they found that the alarm in the building sounded. It turned out that someone found 2 people walking out of Wugo's room through the monitor. They were not interrogators. Alarm, alarm. There are 2 soldiers mutinying in building EA-725. One of them is an alien. They are very dangerous. The license can directly shoot them. The radio in the building shouted, and Xia Xingchen frowned. Soldiers' mutiny is a serious crime, and being killed is a waste of life. Yugo, let's go grab 2 mechas, find a way to leave here, and go back to the Tangyang. Xia Xingchen quickly thought of a countermeasure. Okay. Yugo nodded. Xia Xingchen ran to an empty corner, took out a set of crossbows, 2 alloy daggers, and an alloy iron rod from the portable mecha space, and handed them to Yugo, and took out a rifle and several magazines. When Xia Xingchen and Yugo were shopping, Yugo couldn't let go of cold weapons, so Xia Xingchen would buy these weapons back, and help Yugo keep them, which came in handy at this time. Xia Xingchen's rifle uses concussion bullets, which are non-lethal weapons. After hitting the human body, it will release a large amount of electrical energy to knock the opponent unconscious. The two did not take the elevator, but ran downstairs from the 3rd floor. Xia Xingchen used the inside skill all the way. The people and pursuers who were blocking in front were knocked unconscious by a bullet as soon as they showed their heads, which made Yugo very depressed. He still wanted to participate in the battle. The two quickly went down to the 3rd floor and found that the 2nd and 1st floors were heavily guarded and there were heavy weapons. Seeing that this road was blocked, he pointed to the window at the end of the 3rd floor, and Yugo immediately understood. He took out a special crossbow arrow from the quiver behind him, and Xia Xingchen also replaced it with a powerful armor-piercing bullet. Xia Xingchen fired at a window at the end of the corridor. Under the huge impact of the bullet, the tempered glass was beaten into a spider web, barely connected by the extremely thin metal wire inside, to prevent it from shattering. Xia Xingchen kicked up and kicked the glass. The entire glass was kicked away from the window frame, and Xia Xingchen's body flew out. Yugo also jumped out at this time. He turned in mid-air, held Xia Xingchen's arm with his left hand, and shot an arrow at the wall with the crossbow arrow in his right hand. The crossbow arrow sank deeply into the wall, and the barb on the tip of the arrow made it firmly fixed in the wall. The tail of the arrow was a very thin alloy steel wire, and the other end was a winding device, which was tightly held in Yugo's hand. With the help of the crossbow arrow and the steel wire, the two quickly came to the ground. At this time, Xia Xingchen took out the spare personal terminal, determined the location of the mecha hangar, and took out 2 magnetic hoverboards. Threw one to Yugo, and the two rushed towards the mecha hangar. There were 4 guards at the door of the mecha hangar. Xia Xingchen fired a clip of bullets at them, and all the soldiers were knocked down. The two pushed open the door of the mecha hangar, and Xia Xingchen raised his hand and fired a few shots, breaking all the monitoring equipment inside. There are 6 mechas in the warehouse. This is the standard configuration of mecha team, 5 mechas and 1 spare machine. Now there are 4 Ingram police mechas, a ranger mecha and a space knight mecha in this warehouse. Xia Xingchen pointed to one of the Ingram mechas and said, "You go up and find a place to hide. I will lead the pursuers away." Yugo nodded in agreement. He climbed onto a police mecha and climbed in. The height of the Ingram police mecha is only 4.2 meters. It is modified and upgraded from a civilian mecha. It can be controlled as long as you have a level 7 mental power. After Yugo had been driving mechas for a while, although he still couldn't drive other types of military mechas, he had no problem driving a police mecha to perform some simple actions. Xia Xingchen climbed onto the ranger mecha himself, disassembled several circuit boards, and cut off several of the wires, so that the remote control system and positioning system of the mecha failed. Because military mechas are very dangerous, especially in a confined space like a space station. Once a military mecha is captured by the enemy, it will bring a catastrophe to the space station. So such mechas have remote control systems and positioning systems, which can remotely control the mechas inside the space station through the main control computer of the space station. Xia Xingchen is too familiar with the ranger mecha, and he also knows the tricks here, so he took action to solve this hidden danger first. Chapter 216. Escape from the military court. Xia Xingchen checked the mecha's equipment. A light sword, 2 alloy daggers, a mecha rifle, 12 bullets in the magazine, and 2 spare magazines. Long-range laser weapons are prohibited inside the space station, so only traditional mecha rifles can be used. He let Yugo's Ingram police mecha lie on the ground, and then used the light sword to destroy the foot joints of the remaining mechas. He carefully pressed 2 damaged Ingram mechas on Yugo's mecha, creating the illusion that these mechas were damaged. Then he started the ranger mecha and flew out of the mecha warehouse. At this time, the pursuers had already caught up here, and the mecha thrusters stirred up a huge airflow to overturn them to the ground. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Hennis was so scared that he was paralyzed on the ground. He stared blankly at the mecha that took off outside the window, at a loss. A guy like him who relied on flattery and playing tricks to get to the top. Once he encountered a real battle, he would be confused. It was only when the adjutant reminded him that he woke up from his dream. "Quick, report to the garrison headquarters," Hennis shouted. His heart was filled with bitterness. No matter what the result was, this time it was really a big deal. The duty commander of the Lowland Star Garrison Command heard that there were soldiers mutinying and stealing a military mecha, and he was immediately overwhelmed. But he did not issue a combat alert, because such a thing would be a huge scandal in any army, and it would be best to solve it secretly before the matter became a big deal. Once the alert was issued, the matter would be out of control. So he sent 2 mecha teams with a total of 10 mechas to intercept Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen was rushing to the Tangyang at high speed to get help. In fact, he didn't need help from others. As long as he had the Dragon Rider War General mecha in his hand, the mechas of the entire garrison fleet were no match for him. 10 green dots appeared on the cockpit screen, approaching Xia Xingchen in an outflanking formation. The optical image showed that there were 10 ranger mechas. "Listen, ranger mechas in front. This is the Lowland Star Garrison. Please land immediately for investigation, otherwise we have the right to shoot you." A warning came from the other party on the public channel. "I'm Major Xia Xingchen, a mech division of the Tangyang space cruiser. The military court of the Lowland Star Garrison has abused the law for personal gain, abused lynching, and even killed people to silence them. I don't believe you. I want to return to the Tangyang and wait for the investigation and ruling of the 3rd Fleet Command." Xia Xingchen turned on the communication channels of various frequency bands, including the external speakers of the mechas, so that everyone on the ground could hear this conversation. The duty officer told this to Hennis, and Lieutenant Colonel Hennis was furious. "Don't listen to him. They are mutinous troops. If they are desperate and destroy the space station or cause serious casualties, can you bear the responsibility?" The officer on duty heard that what he said made sense, and the people in the military court were all mad dogs. Although Hennis's official position was not as high as his, it was not a pleasant thing to be troubled by them every day, so he gave an order: launch the attack. Soon, the distance between the mechas of both sides was only about 3,000 meters. The Mechas of the Lowland Star Garrison opened fire first. Firing at this distance had limited lethality, but it was not a bad way to give Xia Xingchen a warning first, so that he would retreat. Xia Xingchen stepped on the power pedal hard, rolled a few times beautifully, dodged the attack, and then fired the mecha rifle in his hand. The mecha rotated 2 weeks and fired 5 shots in a row, hitting the 5 mechas on the opposite side. Although none of the bullets hit the cockpit, the wings and the head of the mecha were mostly hit. 2 mechas rolled down from midair. Although they did not crash, they landed in a mess. Seeing this, the 5 mechas on the opposite side quickly maneuvered to avoid it. Xia Xingchen quickly raised the altitude and fired from a high position. After firing a total of 24 bullets from 2 magazines, all the mechas fell to the ground and lost their combat capability. However, they should be thankful that Xia Xingchen did not fire a single shot at the cockpit. Watching the scene in the video, the duty officer covered his mouth in disbelief. What he didn't know was that Xia Xingchen was a C-class mecha division, and only 2 squad leaders of the garrison were D-class mecha divisions. Even if there were twice as many, Xia Xingchen was not afraid. At this time, the duty officer felt that things were getting out of control, and he sounded the first level combat alarm. At this time, Major General Leo was guarding the berth at the spaceport like a pug. General von Klosch, the boss of their 3rd fleet, was coming to inspect today. Poor General Leo didn't know he had stirred up a hornet's nest and thought that von Klosch was here to check the war preparedness of Lowland Star. Admiral von Klosch's visit not only alarmed Leo, but also frightened Prince Nicholas. The 1st squadron of the 3rd fleet suddenly arrived at the border, and Nicholas thought that the 3rd fleet was going to launch an attack. The huge Thor's Hammer heavy space carrier slowly docked at the dedicated berth. General von Klosch came to the dock with more than 50 guards and more than a dozen senior officers. Major General Leo and several deputies quickly greeted them. Report to the commander. Leo is here to report. Welcome to Lowland Star for inspection. General von Klosch's face was as gloomy as water, and he didn't even look at him, nor did he return the greeting. Leo, let me ask you, how did you deal with the fight that happened in the military club last week? Von Klosch said. Report to the commander. A new recruit and his alien entourage deliberately hurt their comrades, and a senior officer was seriously injured. Our military court has taken them away for investigation, and we will definitely punish the perpetrators. Are you telling the truth? Are you responsible for what you said? General von Klosch asked coldly in a bad tone. Major General Leo's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling, but he also felt that Hens was very smart and should have solved the problem by now. It may be that the video a few days ago attracted the attention of the commander of the 3rd fleet. Thinking of this, he cleared his throat and said, yes, General, I told the truth. There is no falsehood or concealment. Well, let the person in charge of your military court come to see me. This. Major General Leo hesitated. Why, inconvenient? Or is there something unspeakable? Von Klosch looked at him coldly. Oh no, sir, there is absolutely no concealment. It's just that he is a long way away, and it will take another hour or 2 to come. Then go to your garrison. I'll wait for him there. Please, General. Led by Major General Leo, the group went to the garrison of Lowland Star. 40 mechas and 2 transport helicopters flew down from the Thor's Hammer, followed by more than 100 infantrymen, to protect Admiral von Klosch. An hour later, they arrived in front of the office building of the Lowland Star garrison. The escorting mechas lined up in a row, standing in the square in front of the building, and began their alert mission. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Confrontation. General von Klosch walked into the conference room of the Lowland Star Garrison office building. Ask the person in charge of your military court to see me. Yes, sir. Major General Leo agreed and quickly arranged for his adjutant to call Lieutenant Colonel Hens to report the situation. Suddenly, a shrill alarm sounded in the base. Level 1 combat alert. What's going on? Nicholas is attacking? Both General von Klosch and Major General Leo were stunned. At this time, a signalman rushed in. Report to the commander. 2 soldiers who were under investigation in the military court mutinied, robbed 2 mechas, injured dozens of people, and damaged 10 mechas. They are fleeing towards the spaceport. Admiral Leo was anxious when he heard it. Send out the mecha troops, and be sure to kill these 2 dangerous element. Yes, sir. The messenger was about to turn around to convey the order, but was stopped by General von Klosch. Wait, come back. The messenger stopped and looked at the 2 commanders in a dilemma. At this time, von Klosch turned on the speaker of his personal terminal, and Xia Xingchen's call came out of it. He recorded this call, and played it in full band loop. The helicopter that General von Klosch was riding just now received the communication, and sent it to General von Klosch. What the hell is going on? What are those people in the military court doing? General von Klosch cursed very rarely. General, that's Xia Xingchen's sophistry. You must not be fooled. The most urgent thing now is to stop him from causing more damage, Leo said anxiously. Now the only way to completely remove his responsibility is to kill Xia Xingchen and make him die without any evidence. Shut up. Von Klosch rolled his eyes at him. His eyes pierced his heart like a sword, and his little thoughts had long been seen through. Contact the command center of Lauland Star Space Station. I want to have a video call with Xia Xingchen. By the way, let all troops stay on standby. Do not send out or attack Xia Xingchen. Those who disobey the order will be severely punished for treason. Yes, sir. Von Klosch's adjutant agreed and stood up to deal with the matter. 2 minutes later, a video call request suddenly came from Xia Xingchen's mecha communicator. He answered the call and found that it was General von Klosch who appeared in the video. Xia Xingchen, I know about your situation. Now, I order you to come to the garrison office building as soon as possible. I will ask them to send you the map and location. Come on, I'm here too, and I will give you justice. Yes, sir. But my follower is still hiding in the mecha warehouse, and I must bring him out. Otherwise, he won't listen to anyone. Okay, I approve it, and all units must not stop it. Xia Xingchen turned his mecha in midair and flew towards the office building. He first landed at the door of the mecha warehouse of the military law department, and Hugo climbed out of the policing room mecha. The ranger stretched out his right hand, and Hugo jumped up in one step and grabbed the mecha's fingers. The ranger mecha continued to slowly rise into the air and flew to the office building. When they arrived in front of the building, Xia Xingchen jumped off the mecha cabin, tidied up his military uniform, and strode into the office building with Hugo. General von Klosch's adjutants were already waiting here and took the 2 into the conference room. At this time, the conference room had been rearranged into the style of a military court. General von Klosch sat at the top like a judge, and a large number of senior generals of the 3rd Fleet sat below. At this time, an officer stood in front of General von Klosch. This person was Lieutenant Colonel Hennis. He was sweating profusely and looked terrified and was being questioned. Report to the commander, Xia Xingchen. Hugo is here to report. The master and servant stepped forward and saluted. General von Klosch's eyes showed love and appreciation. Since joining the army, Xia Xingchen has brought countless honors to the 3rd Fleet, and he is definitely his favorite general. Especially since they just watched the video from the Lauland Star Space Station Command Center showing Xia Xingchen and Hugo escaping from the military court and injuring 10 military mechas. He liked it very much. It has only been 3 years since he rescued Xia Xingchen from Manastar, and he has grown from a teenager to an ace in the army. The other officers present also secretly admired him in their hearts, saying that he is definitely a good soldier. General von Klosch said, Major Xia Xingchen, this Lieutenant Colonel Hens of the Lauland Star Military Court accused you of intentionally injuring and maiming many people in a fight, and seriously injuring a senior officer. And you refused to cooperate in the investigation, beat the interrogators, and even snatched weapons and mutiny. This is a very serious crime, and the facts are solid. There is a medical report from the military hospital, a video of you beating people, and a video of you mutinying. What do you have to say? Report to the general. This is a naked false accusation. Please allow me to use the projection equipment. I want to make a statement and show the evidence. Xia Xingchen said confidently. General, I object. The military court is absolutely fair and authoritative. Major General Liu saw that the situation was not good and wanted to jump out to object. Ping. General von Krosch slammed the table hard, scaring Major General Liu so much that he almost bit his tongue. Von Krosch pointed at Major General Liu and said, "You, shut up. Even Nicholas, who is guilty of heinous crimes, has the right to defend himself. What's the matter with not letting people speak? Are you guilty?" Major General Liu was speechless due to the pressure. Xia Xingchen stepped forward, connected the spare personal terminal in his hand to the large screen in the conference room, and began his statement. Chapter 218 Confrontation. The cause of this incident was that more than 40 days ago, in the nightclub of the Lowland Star Military Club, several soldiers led by Major Sanchez's brother molested the female soldiers on our Tangyang, which resulted in a large-scale fight. At this point, he played a long video, including those soldiers chatting with female soldiers, molesting them, and touching them. These girls loved taking selfies. When they were dancing in the nightclub, several of them had their personal terminals turned on to the shooting mode. Everything that happened was recorded in full. The most important thing is that the conversations were recorded, and there was no way to deny it. Major General Liu's face changed a little. Although the group fight was handled fairly due to the intervention of the military police, it immediately proved that the soldiers on Lowland Star were the culprits. Once General von Klosch had a preconceived impression that they were not good people, it would be difficult for him to deny it later. The next thing was the video of the group fight. 500 men were still at a disadvantage against 50 recruits. General von Klosch expressed his satisfaction with the training of the recruits, especially the training of the Tangyang. How was this incident handled? General von Klosch asked. Report to the general. We have fined the departments of both parties involved and recorded a major offense. The speaker was Major General Qin Yu, the head of the military police force in the Western Administrative Service District. Von Klosch nodded. There was no problem with this result. He motioned Xia Xingchen to continue his statement. 6 days ago, we returned to the Lowland Star Space Station after completing our space cruise mission. When a dozen of our comrades were drinking in the bar of the military club, these soldiers, Major Sanchez and nearly 50 soldiers of the Lowland Star Infantry Special Operations Battalion, launched a surprise attack on our comrades. They used their numbers to bully the few, and launched a sneak attack. All my comrades were knocked down, and several were seriously injured. At this time, Major Sanchez made unreasonable demands, asking my comrades to kneel down and kowtow for mercy, and asked our female soldiers to sleep with them. A soldier can be killed but not humiliated. We are soldiers. How can we agree to such a request that insults the personality and honor of a soldier? So, Lieutenant Colonel Sanchez ordered his men to break the limbs of all my comrades. At this time, Hugo and I arrived. In order to protect our comrades, we were forced to engage in legitimate defense. Xia Xingchen said, showing the battle video of the second fight, as well as his conversation with Major Sanchez. Major General Liu and Lieutenant Colonel Hens collapsed again, secretly cursing why the gang on the Tangyang loved taking selfies and secretly taking photos. Xia Xingchen continued, Hugo and I knocked them all down, and then helped our comrades to simply deal with their wounds. At this time, the people from the military court came down under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Hens. But what puzzled me was that he immediately accused me of attacking a senior officer and then sent all the other parties to the medical center for treatment while detaining me and my comrades for 5 days and did not take any treatment measures except providing a small amount of medicine. At this time, Leo and Hens were sweating profusely. Hearing this, General von Klosch raised his eyebrows. Lieutenant Colonel Hens, I don't understand your way of handling it. Can you tell me why the treatment of the two parties in the fight is so different? This. Hens hesitated and thought for a long time before explaining. Those people in the Lowland Star garrison are seriously injured. Saving people is important. These people are not all seriously injured. There are many lightly injured. Where are they now? Von Klosch suddenly changed the subject, and the whole conference room could feel the chill in his words. They all went back after treatment. General von Klosch clapped his hands. Good. It's really good to enforce the law impartially and fairly. Your Lowland Star military court is really great. Well, Xia Xingchen, let's talk about the mutiny. Yes, sir. Xia Xingchen continued. Early this morning, this Lieutenant Colonel Hens brought people to interrogate me. But what puzzles me is that, except for the time when I was locked up in the solitary confinement room, I was always handcuffed. They handcuffed me to a chair, and this Lieutenant Colonel Hens put all kinds of accusations on me, forcing me to confess to trumped up charges. I firmly disagreed, so he asked his interrogators to teach me a lesson, and also said that the surveillance was broken. Slander. This is slander. It was obviously you who refused to cooperate with the investigation, knocked out the investigators, and stole the weapons and mechas. Hens shouted hysterically. I slandered you? Xia Xingchen laughed. Where is the evidence? Where is the surveillance video? The surveillance video is broken. So, Hugo, tell me what happened there? Xia Xingchen asked Hugo, and suddenly everyone's eyes were focused on this alien who looked a little shy. Hugo replied, they handcuffed me to a chair, and without saying anything, they tried to shock my head with an electric baton. I was forced to fight back. One of them even shot me with a gun, and I knocked them unconscious. Then the master came to open the door and save me. We escaped from the building, and the master asked me to hide in the mecha while he went to get help alone. Xia Xingchen asked, Lieutenant Colonel Hens, don't tell me that the video surveillance in this interrogation room is also broken. The surveillance is indeed broken. Broken. Hens argued, but he himself had no confidence in what he said. Ha 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 ha. Xia Xingchen laughed. Lieutenant Colonel Hens, do you think everyone is a fool? There are 8 interrogation rooms on that floor of the office building, and you arranged 2 rooms with broken surveillance equipment to interrogate the 2 of us. Besides, even if the surveillance system was broken, you detained us for 5 days, and no one checked and repaired the surveillance system? Xia Xingchen turned his head and looked at Major General Liu jokingly. Or is it that the Lowland Star Garrison is so poor that it can't even afford to repair the surveillance equipment? Major General Liu was so angry that he was speechless. Oh, look at my memory. I remembered that there is still a recording that has not been played. As soon as Xia Xingchen pressed the play button, the sound system immediately played the recording of Major Hens interrogating Xia Xingchen. When they heard him say the surveillance system is broken in person, all the listeners smiled knowingly. Major General Liu and Lieutenant Colonel Hens were completely dumbfounded. They didn't know how Xia Xingchen, who had been searched, could produce a recording device. At this time, Major General Qin Yu, the head of the military police force in the Western Administrative District of the Galactic Empire, stood up. He is 35 years old, a member of the royal family, and a powerful B-class mecha division. He stood up and said, just now the military police searched the office building of the military law department of Lowland Star, and found that the surveillance system of their interrogation room was intact. Someone had manually turned off the surveillance system. As soon as these words came out, the crowd was ignited. Now the truth of the matter has been made clear. Admiral von Klausch said, Major General Qin Yu, the severity of this matter seems inappropriate for the 3rd Fleet Military Court to handle it, and it can only be handed over to your military police. Major General Qin Yu nodded and gestured to several of his men around him. 4 military police armed with live ammunition and wearing white helmets with gold rims rushed up and quickly controlled Lieutenant Colonel Hens. His arms were handcuffed behind his back, and the pistol, dagger, personal terminal and other equipment on his waist were confiscated. The military police also pulled off his hat and pinched his mouth to check his oral cavity to confirm whether there was a suicide capsule in his mouth. Now he has become a prisoner completely. Chapter 219 Confrontation. Major General Qin Yu announced in public, Lieutenant Colonel Hens, the head of the military law department of the Lowland Star Garrison under the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire, was sentenced to death according to the provisions of the Imperial Military Code for his abuse of power, torture, concealment of facts, persecution of colleagues, and even murder. The circumstances are serious and the evidence is conclusive. He will be taken back to Chang'an Star for trial and execution. If there is no major meritorious performance, no appeal is allowed. When Lieutenant Colonel Hens heard the word death penalty, his eyes went dark, and he collapsed to the ground. Immediately, He seemed to remember something again, struggled to get up from the ground, and shouted, "I want to report. I want to make meritorious service. I did this because I was instructed by someone. It was Major General Leo who asked me to do this. Major Sanchez is his brother-in-law. He listens to his wife the most. It was him who asked me to kill and maim Hugo and Xia Xingchen." Although Leo promised to protect him, Leo had no way to change the death sentence of the military police. Now if he wants to live, the only way is to make meritorious service. That is, to report Leo and drag him into the water. Nonsense. You dare to slander the General of the Galactic Empire. The crime is even more serious. I recommend the death penalty. Immediate execution. Major General Leo shouted at the side, and then the two started to curse each other in the conference room. Ping. General von Klausch pulled out his pistol and fired a shot at the roof. Everyone in the house quickly looked for cover to hide. When they found that it was General von Klausch who fired the shot, they stood up again. At this time, the house was silent, and everyone stared at General von Klausch in a daze. Hence, you said that Major General Leo instructed you to do this. Where is the evidence? General Klausch, in the past 3 years, in order to clean up his brothers-in-law, he has instructed me to tamper with evidence many times and create false cases. I was forced to do it. I knew that this old guy would deny it, so I recorded everything he asked me to do. Where is the recording? In my apartment, in the northeast corner of the bathroom ceiling. Push it open. There is a data storage device hidden there, and the recording is there. In order to survive, Hens took out the life-saving things. Major General Leo was very depressed after hearing this. He didn't understand why these people love to take photos or record secretly. Von Klausch nodded. Major General Kinyu, please send someone to go with my soldiers to retrieve the storage device. This matter has already involved the generals of the Galactic Empire, so General von Klausch must be very cautious. Kinyu took the order and quickly arranged a team of soldiers to collect evidence under the protection of the Mecha. Major General Leo had no choice but to deny it at this time. General Klausch, this Hens is a complete villain. In order to survive, he can use any disgusting means. This recording must be forged. You have to be careful. At this time, Major General Kinyu had just arranged for his soldiers to get the data storage device and return to the house. Hearing what Major General Leo said, he projected the document reader in his hand onto the big screen, and a series of data appeared. We received a related complaint a week ago. Someone reported that Major General Leo provided shelter for the illegal behavior of the Sanchez brothers. Therefore, we have instructed the Lowland Star Military Police to conduct a secret investigation. When he said this, Major General Leo showed an expression of disbelief on his face. Generally speaking, such accusations will be transferred to the military court for investigation first, because there are many accusations that soldiers are dissatisfied with their superiors and even complain about them, many of which are false accusations or simple complaints. The military police will only intervene if the crime is serious and the evidence is conclusive, because they have a small number of military police and most of the investigations are mainly completed by the military court. And hence follows his lead, so Leo doesn't have to worry about these things at all. But he never expected that the Tangyangsing gang was so powerful. Zhang Yingying was very worried about Xia Xingchen, but she didn't know the relationship between Xia Xingchen and General von Klausch. In order to prevent Xia Xingchen from being treated unfairly, she first contacted her father, Admiral Zhang Yuan, and asked him to intercede with General von Klausch. After careful consideration, Admiral Zhang Yuan refused. First of all, such a thing is a family scandal for the Third Fleet. No commander would want such a thing to be known by people outside the fleet. Moreover, Admiral Zhang Yuan knew very well that Xia Xingchen was General von Klausch's baby. How could he bear to let him suffer an unjust accusation? Major General Zhang Yuan told Zhang Yingying to relax, but when it came to Xia Xingchen, the little beauty was a little worried, so she contacted Dayren and Princess Crossing again. Princess Crossing Kinjana was more concerned about Xia Xingchen, so she contacted her uncle, Admiral Kinfeng, the commander-in-chief of the Galaxy Empire Military Police. Admiral Qin loved his two nieces very much, and he immediately arranged for Major General Kinyu, who was in charge of the Western Administrative District, to personally rush to Lowland Star to conduct an investigation. At the same time, Through Dayren's relationship, the Empire Intelligence Agency's Lauland Star office also began to investigate Major General Liu and Hens, and achieved a lot of results. After our investigation and verification, the two brothers of Major Sanchez are indeed the brothers-in-law of Major Liu. Since Major Liu became the commander of the Lauland Star garrison, the two brothers of Sanchez have been complained to the military court 106 times, including beating colleagues to serious injuries and disabilities, sexual harassment of female soldiers, forced sexual relations and other bad cases. However, these cases were eventually left unresolved due to insufficient evidence or the victims withdrawing their complaints. By analyzing the database of the computer mainframe backend of the military law office, we found that most of the very solid evidence submitted by the informants when reporting the case had been deleted or tampered with. Fortunately, we have recovered some of the evidence through technical means. At the same time, we visited a large number of victims, and they all said that they had received threats and persecution from the military law office and the senior officials of the garrison, and some were even forced to retire. We therefore judge that there was a serious problem of partiality and abuse of power in the military law office of Lauland Star, and it has become a tool for some people to seek personal interests. Obviously, without the exchange of interests, Lieutenant Colonel Hens would not have risked being beheaded dozens of times to help the Sanchez brothers. Through our visits, we also found that Lieutenant Colonel Hens had a very bad reputation. People said that he only knew how to flatter and scheme, and had no serious ability. However, it was such a person who was promoted and valued by Major General Liu, and promoted him many times. Based on the above evidence, we believe that Major General Liu is the instigator behind these events. Chapter 220 Adding crime to crime. Lieutenant Colonel Hens's crime was exposed, and he was sentenced to death by Major General Qin Yu, the commander of the military police force in the Western Administrative District of the Galaxy Empire. In order to fight for his last chance of survival, he began to frantically bite out that it was Major General Liu who instructed him to do all this, and told the military police to go to his residence to find the recording. Major General Qin Yu read out the results of the investigation by the military police department. Major General Liu instructed the military law department of Lauland Star to bend the law for personal gain and provide a protective umbrella for the illegal behavior of the Sanchez brothers. The evidence of their evil deeds is conclusive, and it is really difficult to deny. Major General Qin Yu publicly pronounced, in view of the above investigation results, Major General Liu is no longer suitable for the position of the head of the Lauland Star garrison. We suggest that he be detained, suspended from all positions, and wait for the judgment of the military court. You are bullshitting. What qualifications do you have to suspend my post, including you, Von Klosch? I'm a general officer in the front line, and only the Imperial Military Department has the qualification to suspend my post. Liu roared hysterically. General Von Klosch looked at him with a smile. When he finished his roar and was breathing heavily, General Klosch asked his adjutant to transfer an electronic document to Major General Liu's personal terminal. Major General Liu looked down and saw that it was an official order from the Imperial Military. Admiral Von Klosch, commander of the 3rd Fleet of the Galactic Empire, is hereby authorized to represent the military in handling matters related to Lauland Star. The signature was the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire, von Bismarck. Seeing this order, Major General Liu was like being struck by lightning. He then remembered that the father of his immediate superior was the Grand Marshal of the Empire. The Imperial Military Department orders that I'm fully responsible for all affairs of Lauland Star. Come, take him down. I declare that Liu's position as commander of the Lauland Star garrison will be permanently suspended, and his rank of Major General will be stripped away. He will be detained and await trial by a military court. Seeing that the highest commander had spoken, 4 gendarmes pounced on him like wolves and tigers. Liu received the same treatment as Lieutenant Colonel Hens, handcuffed, disarmed, his communication tools confiscated, and checked to see if he had poison in his mouth. Von Klosch then announced, I appoint Major General Qin Kunpeng as the acting commander of the Lauland Star garrison. He will lead the daily defense mission of Lauland Star. He will also carry out discipline rectification of the Lauland Star garrison. At the same time, the military law department of the 3rd Fleet will fully act as the military law department of the Lowland Star Garrison and launch a special investigation to correct the unjust, false and wrong cases they have sentenced over the years. No one with problems can be let go. Those who should be arrested, and those who should be killed. General Feng Cloche was very angry about this kind of favoritism and law breaking in the army. This practice will directly affect the morale and unity of the army and seriously affect the combat effectiveness of the army. In addition, General Qin Yu, I would like to ask your military police to conduct a thorough investigation of the military discipline and law enforcement department of the 3rd Fleet to completely reverse this unhealthy trend. Don't worry, General Feng Cloche, we will conduct a thorough investigation of the military law departments of all fleets stationed in the entire Western Administrative Region. This is our responsibility. Major General Qin replied. General von Cloche called over Xia Xingchen and said, boy, you did a great job on this matter. I didn't expect you to be so powerful now. It's really great. I will stay here for a few days. We can have a good chat. Yes, General. Report to General von Cloche. I'm commissioned by the Imperial Military Intelligence Department. Here is an investigation report for your review. Zhang Yingying suddenly stood up and handed General von Cloche a reader. General von Cloche was very surprised, but when he saw Zhang Yingying, he immediately understood. He didn't expect that the little princess of the 1st Fleet also had a good relationship with the intelligence department. But when he saw the materials in the file, he could no longer remain calm, and anger burst out of his eyes. Leo, you bastard. It turned out that this report recorded that Major General Leo's wife and 2 brothers-in-law had long accepted a large amount of property from 2 businessmen from the north, with an amount of up to more than 10 billion star coins. The Sanchez brothers tipped them off in some operations against star pirates from the north, resulting in the failure of the operations. As for whether Major General Leo used his position to collude with the north, it is still under investigation. General von Cloche projected the document onto the big screen, and the adjutant read out the investigation report. Major General Leo, who had not yet been taken away, screamed and fainted on the spot. Originally, the crimes he committed were partiality and abuse of power, and at most he would be stripped of his military rank and sent to the front as a soldier. But now, he will face charges of bribery and even treason. This is not just a matter of death penalty, it is very likely that his family will be confiscated and exterminated. What made him even more depressed was that his wife often used his name to make some money and take advantage of him. In order not to offend his wife, he didn't say anything. Who knew that they actually did something secretly with the North behind his back? He didn't know what they did, but there was no way. He had to take the blame. Come here, arrest the Sanchez brothers, their men, and the soldiers who participated in the riot, as well as the people from the military court of Lowland Star. All of them will be suspended from duty and isolated for investigation. Anyone found to have violated laws and disciplines will be severely punished and will not be tolerated. The intelligence department must be involved. No matter what means are used, they must be thoroughly investigated. Anyone found to have treasonous behavior will be executed. Feng Cloche's words were full of murderous intent. Because those people in the intelligence department are unscrupulous. If they are allowed to intervene in the interrogation, the interrogated person will not have a good end. If they don't die, they will be skinned. The farce finally ended. Xia Xingchen's comrades were taken to the medical center by Captain Van Horn for a physical examination. Except for the people from the 3rd Fleet, all other personnel dispersed, and Feng Cloche called Van Horn to his side. Teacher, I'm here, Colonel Van Horn saluted. 3 years ago, Van Horn participated in a captain training course hosted by the 3rd Fleet. Feng Cloche was the main lecturer, and he was deeply impressed by Van Horn. Your cruise operation this time was very good, and you smashed another big conspiracy of Mechas. In addition, your troops are very well trained. 50 of them can fight 500 without any loss. How did you do it? Van Cloche asked. His eyes were full of praise. Report to the commander. This is all thanks to Xia Xingchen. He singled out that B-class mecha division, and he and Hugo formulated the training plan for our Tangyang. Van Horn was not greedy for credit. He knew his teacher's temper very well. Admiral Cloche did not like people who cheated and deceived him. Chapter 221 Northern Independence. General von Klausch asked General Van Horn about their training, and General Van Horn said that it was all thanks to Xia Xingchen. Oh, what's going on? General von Klausch was very curious. We saw Xia Xingchen leading his mecha team in training. Through his special training method, we feel that martial arts training and physical training are the basis, the fastest, and can greatly improve the survival rate of soldiers on the battlefield. As he said, he passed the training outline written by Xia Xingchen to General von Klausch. General von Klausch and his adjutants carefully studied the training outline and were amazed. General von Klausch immediately decided to promote this training program throughout the 3rd Fleet. It will last for 3 months and all officers must participate. In the next few days, General von Klausch was busy. The handover of the Laulandstar garrison and the layout of the entire Laulandstar defense all required him to worry about. In a few days, it would be the new year. He and Xia Xingchen agreed that after the new year, the two of them would meet alone to discuss how to deal with Nicholas. However, the two of them never met in this meeting, because on January 1st, 2020, a major event that shook the Galactic Empire occurred. Prince Nicholas of the Northern Administrative District, in the palace of the Siberian Administrative District, announced that the Northern Administrative District was independent from the Galactic Empire, and proclaimed himself emperor. The country was called the Northern Empire, and he named himself Nicholas the Great. More than a month ago, major media outlets in the Galactic Empire received invitations, saying that Prince Nicholas had something important to announce. These media outlets speculated that Prince Nicholas might want to explain some things that happened in the past, so they applied for a special pass to come to the north, but what they waited for was such a shocking news. Beforehand, no relevant news was revealed. In the early morning of the new year, when hundreds of thousands of people were preparing to welcome the new year in the winter square in front of the Siberian Star Palace, Nicholas read out the Declaration of Independence, officially announcing that the Northern Administrative District was completely separated from the jurisdiction of the Galactic Empire. Immediately afterwards, the newly established Northern Empire government issued a notice, reading out a series of personnel appointments and dismissals, as well as the country name, temporary decrees and other news. The invited media quickly passed the explosive news back to the Galactic Empire. Not long after, they were invited to the Northern Empire Space Station to visit a grand military parade, where people saw an astonishing number of space fleets, including 2 heavy space carriers. The first was the flagship of the Northern Empire's First Fleet, the North Wind God aircraft carrier, and the second was the flagship of the Northern Empire's Second Fleet, the Ice and Snow Goddess heavy space carrier, which was secretly built and tested. This warship was known only to a few people in the Northern Empire's military, and the confidentiality work was done very well. When it appeared in people's vision, people knew that Emperor Nicholas the Great had prepared for war early. The newly established Northern Empire consists of 5 major star regions. Among them, the Siberian Star Region, which is located in the center of the Northern Empire, has also been renamed the Northern Capital Star Region. The Baikal Star Region Administrative Region is located in the east of the Northern Empire. The Sakhalin Star Region Administrative Region is located in the west of the Northern Empire. The Baku Star Region Administrative Region is located in the south of the Northern Empire and borders the Galactic Empire Capital Star Region, and the Khabarovsk Star Region Administrative Region is located in the north of the Northern Empire. Nicholas the Great appointed himself as a supreme commander of the armed forces of the Northern Empire and personally served as the commander-in-chief of the Northern Empire Army. He appointed Admiral Shevchuk as the chief of the general staff of the Northern Empire, appointed Antonov, the former president of Northern Heavy Industries, as the minister of the General Logistics Department of the Empire, and awarded the commanders of the 4 fleets the rank of admiral. Among them, Admiral Denisov led the 1st Fleet of the Northern Empire to guard the Siberian Star Region. Admiral Vadas led the 2nd Fleet of the North to garrison the Baikal Star Region. Admiral Sashal led the 3rd Fleet of the Northern Empire to garrison the Baku Star Region. Admiral Nehuk led the 4th Fleet of the Northern Empire to garrison the Sakhalin Star Region. In terms of the government, the officials of the former Northern Administrative District government were automatically upgraded to ministers of the Northern Empire. Among them, Rauso was appointed as the Prime Minister of the Northern Empire. This nearly 70-year-old man watched Nicholas grow up and was loyal to Nicholas. Now, he finally sat in this position in the Northern Empire, which is second only to one person, and above 10,000 people. In addition, Chekhov was appointed as the Minister of the Interior of the Northern Empire, and Yuri was appointed as the Minister of the Military Intelligence Department of the Northern Empire. In addition, Xia Xingchen's mortal enemy Andre is now colonel, and is forming an elite mecha unit. Prince Nicholas proclaimed himself emperor. The Northern Administrative Region became independent. The Northern Empire was established, and there was another heavy aircraft carrier in the north. Such explosive news was reported back to the Galactic Empire, shocking the whole country. Upon hearing this news, Emperor Qinzheng of the Empire spurted out a mouthful of blood, and immediately lost consciousness. The medical staff of the royal hospital rescued him for a whole day and night and finally rescued him. Looking at the relatives who gathered around the bed, Emperor Qinzheng burst into tears. I didn't see clearly the wolfish ambition of Nicholas. It was me who indulged him all these years, which led to this outcome. The ancestors of our Qin family worked hard for nearly 1,000 years to unify the Galactic Empire, but they were ruined in my hands. I really feel ashamed of my ancestors. Xia, now I pass the throne to you. You must recover the lost land in the north, reunify the Galactic Empire, and avenge your father. At this point, 2 bloody tears flowed from Emperor Qinzheng's eyes, and a stream of blood and fragments of internal organs spurted out of his mouth, and he died on the spot. The attending doctor gave Emperor Qinzheng a detailed examination and shook his head. Your Majesty, Qinzheng has already made up his mind to die, and has no faith in survival at all. We can't do anything. The queen, 2 princes and 2 princesses in the room cried together. But soon, the great elder of the royal family, Qin Shan, the old prime minister NK, and the great marshal of the imperial army, Feng Bismarck, came to the ward and took away the eldest prince Qin Zhi. As the saying goes, a country cannot be without a ruler for a day. Before his death, Emperor Qinzheng designated his eldest son as his successor. Qin Zhi, who was 25 years old and had just graduated from the Imperial Military Command Academy, was widely recognized by the Imperial Elders Council and cabinet ministers for his ability and character. Therefore, all parties unanimously decided to support Qin Zhi as the new emperor of the Galactic Empire. Chapter 222, Northern Political Discussion. 2020, Prince Nicholas of the former Northern Administrative District of the Galactic Empire declared the independence of the North, established the Northern Empire, and Nicholas became emperor. The unified situation of the Galactic Empire for more than 100 years was completely broken. That night, Qinzheng, the emperor of the Galactic Empire, could not withstand the blow after learning the news, and vomited blood and died. On January 2, 2020, Qin Zhi, the new emperor of the Galactic Empire, who was only 25 years old, ascended the throne. The New Year's Day of this year is also known as the most bizarre New Year's Day in the history of the Galactic Empire. The reactions of all parties to these two things were different. When Nicholas the Great heard that Qinzheng was dead, he showed a cruel smile. In order to gain Qinzheng's trust, he resisted the nausea and had that kind of physical relationship with Qinzheng. Nicholas killed all the insiders afterwards, but Qinzheng was still alive, like a thorn in his heart. Now, he can finally be free. Faced with the dramatic changes in the political situation of the Galactic Empire, Nicholas the Great quickly convened a cabinet military meeting. This was also the first cabinet military meeting since he became emperor. Chekhov, please introduce the current situation of the Galactic Empire. Nicholas asked. Yes, Your Majesty, the newly appointed Minister of the Interior of the Northern Empire, Chekhov, said. Last night, Emperor Qinzheng of the Galactic Empire vomited blood and died. This morning, the new Emperor Qin Zhi ascended the throne. 3 days later, the Galactic Empire will hold a state funeral at the Imperial Mausoleum. Affected by the news of the founding of our country and the death of Emperor Qinzheng, the stock market of the Galactic Empire plummeted today, losing nearly 20% of its market value, and the economy of the Galactic Empire was hit hard. In terms of military, the major fleets of the Galactic Empire have now issued a second-level combat readiness alert, and the troops on the border have issued a first-level combat readiness alert. The commanders of several major fleets of the Galactic Empire have been recalled to Xianyu and start to discuss countermeasures. According to our intelligence analysts, The probability of the Galactic Empire launching an attack on us within 3 months is less than 10%. Nicholas was very satisfied with the current situation. The death of Emperor Kinzeng gave him several months of adjustment time, allowing him to make arrangements more calmly. Lord Schwab, tell me about our current economic situation. The current Minister of Finance of the Northern Empire is Schwab, who was once the president of the Northern University and a famous economist. Your Majesty, our country's inflation rate has reached 260% and the deficit is even more serious. Although we have raised the tax rate, the growth of fiscal revenue is far behind the rate of inflation, and now we are spending money like water. And even worse news is that the Galactic Empire has discovered our Dream Angel export plan. They have stepped up their efforts to crack down on drugs. Now most smugglers require cash settlement. Nicholas was silent. The situation reflected by the Minister of Finance was already very serious. How long can we hold out? Half a year, at most half a year, our economy will collapse. Schwab said helplessly. Then what is your suggestion? In order not to affect your Majesty's preparations for war, I suggest declaring a state of war to facilitate our rationing of goods and materials. In this way, we can still support it for about a year and a half, but this is a poison to quench thirst. We must launch a war within a year and achieve great results within half a year of the start of the war. Otherwise, the economy of our Northern Empire will completely collapse. The Minister of Finance gave a suggestion. Nicholas thought quietly. Implementing a wartime state and implementing a material rationing system can maximize the economic potential of the Northern Empire and make better use of all materials. However, this is also an overdraft of the economy. When the time comes, it will completely collapse. The Northern Empire can only go all out and gamble in the end. The Minister of Finance just said it very clearly. We really have no choice. I have decided to take the following measures immediately. First, immediately implement emergency wartime measures, prohibit the free trade of goods, and adopt a rationing system for goods. Second, confiscate the materials in the hands of those big merchants, exchange them with military merits, and promise them some benefits. For those who refuse to cooperate, they will be charged with treason. Confiscate their homes, and exterminate their families. Third, within 1 month, issue new currency and forcibly confiscate star coins. Those who still use star coins at that time will be charged with treason. After hearing Nicholas's order, everyone present was shocked. Most of their families have close ties with these big merchants and large business groups, and they are even big merchants themselves. These 3 policies are a disaster for the entire northern business and merchant class. First, military control prohibits the free trade of goods, and merchants cannot hoard goods or sell them at high prices. Second, using military merit to exchange for supplies is actually using a blank check to deprive them of their goods. Once the Northern Empire loses in future wars, these money will be wasted, and the so-called military merit may become evidence of their liquidation. The third point is to issue a new currency, which is even more vicious. Use the new currency to exchange star coins at a 1:1 ratio, and then the Northern Empire can gather a large number of star coins in the hands of the people. They can use this money to exchange for supplies from the smugglers from the Galactic Empire. And those merchants who are forced to exchange star coins for new currency are in trouble. Because the new currency can only be used in the Northern Administrative District, and the problem is that the Northern Administrative District is now implementing wartime material control, and nothing can be bought at all. And it can be foreseen that with the start of the war and the deterioration of the economic situation, the Northern Empire government will inevitably start to print money like crazy, and these so-called new currencies will eventually become less and less valuable. Almost everyone opposed Nicholas's 3 measures, but no one dared to bring them up. They have all followed Nicholas for many years, and know his character well. Anyone who dares to raise doubts here will be classified by Nicholas as someone who hinders him from achieving his goals, and will soon be removed from the center of power. And before long, they will be treated as having their property confiscated, and their families exterminated. Since you have no objection, this matter is settled. The Ministry of Finance must act quickly. The Ministry of the Interior must cooperate. Yes, Your Majesty. Schwab and Chekhov replied. Chief of Staff, tell me about the military's arrangements. Yes, Your Majesty. 5-star General Shivchuk, Chief of the General Staff of the Northern Empire Army, agreed. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fleets stationed on the border have now entered level 1 combat readiness, and the 1st fleet has entered level 2 combat readiness. All wormhole entrances have been heavily blocked. In addition, all warships are doubly staffed, and the training of new ship personnel is also in full swing. Okay, make sure everything is foolproof, and be prepared for the Galactic Empire to make a last-ditch effort and launch an immediate attack. Another point, I'll give you half a year to train military talents for at least 2 fleets, and then another half a year to get them to work together and form combat effectiveness. By then, it will be time for us to unify the Galactic Empire. Nicholas gave instructions. Minister Andonov, you have the heaviest task. How is it going now? Your Majesty, our logistics department and related enterprises are working at full capacity. All vacations have been cancelled, and all mining planets have reached a work intensity of more than 14 hours a day. In addition, in order to improve efficiency, we have deployed several optical computers to rationally arrange productivity. The only thing restricting us now is materials and mineral resources. If these things are in place, our efficiency will be further improved. In addition, after the redessin, the construction progress of our 2 newly built Poseidon-class heavy space carriers has been completed by 70%. If the supply of materials goes smoothly, we are confident that we can complete the construction of these 2 warships within 7 months. Okay, that's it. However, ordinary weapons and ammunition must also be stockpiled in large quantities. Many of our fleets are not yet fully staffed. Yes, Your Majesty. Andonov replied. Chapter 223 Northern Argument. The meeting lasted for more than 3 hours before it ended. The ministers left the office one after another. Only Chekhov, Yuri, Chief of Staff Shevchuk and Colonel Andrei stayed. They went to a small conference room with Nicholas to continue the secret military meeting. Our 200 Phantom-class high-speed stealth reconnaissance ships have been put into service. Now the next phase of the operation can be launched. Chief of Staff Shevchuk said. Oh. Tell me what you think. Due to the blockade of our border by the Galactic Empire, we have decided to send 3,000 small spaceships to the border area to open up and verify new routes along the routes taken by those smuggling ships. After the small spaceships have explored the way first and there are no problems, we will send out medium-sized cruisers. We have prepared 1,000 medium-sized cruisers here to infiltrate the border area, to carry out guerrilla warfare and attack the opponent's patrol warships and transport fleets. At the same time, our Phantom-class high-speed stealth reconnaissance ships will go deep into the territory of the Galactic Empire to conduct reconnaissance, harassment, and continue the paralysis plan. Very good, but your plan needs some changes. First, bring the young Mecha divisions under Andrei, and don't be afraid of sacrifice. Soldiers can only be honed in battle. Second, you must find a way to try to open up several stable secret transport routes. The current economic blockade has a great impact on our weapons production. Third, the Empire is still short of a large number of key technical talents. You'd better send the infiltrated warships to snatch some back for me. If you can't snatch them back, you can kill them on the spot. Nicholas put forward his ideas. Yes, Your Majesty. There were so many people talking just now that I couldn't explain in detail. You guys are my trusted ministers, so I won't hide it from you. Between November of this year and January of next year is when we will launch an offensive and unify the Milky Way. This depends on when the 2 Poseidon-class heavy aircraft carriers can form combat effectiveness. Time is very tight. You have heard in the meeting just now that our financial support cannot last too long. That time will be our last chance to launch the attack. Now, the production department and the military industry department are already operating at full capacity. It is useless for me to force them. The key depends on you. If you can open up a stable secret route, then their production efficiency will be greatly improved. In addition, there is personnel training. I hope that your military will seize this year to train personnel and not be afraid of making mistakes. Every time you go to the border for an operation, you must bring at least half of the newcomers. It is best if all soldiers have killed people and seen blood when the war begins. Yes, Your Majesty, I will revise the battle plan right away. Also, Chekhov, we will implement martial law and issue new currency, which will face great resistance. The Ministry of the Interior must actively cooperate and clear obstacles for the reform. Especially these ministers. If they don't set an example, we will use them as an example to scare the monkeys. Yes, Your Majesty, Yuri agreed. It was late at night, and the palace of Xia Xingchen, the capital of the Galactic Empire, was also brightly lit. Porkin Zhi, the new emperor of the Galactic Empire, had only slept for 4 hours in the past 2 days. However, his deep hatred for Nicholas and his impulse to do something great as the new emperor made him cheer up and continue the meeting. However, Qin Zhi was still very self-aware. Because his father, Emperor Qinzheng, had always been in his prime, it might take another 20 to 30 years before he could pass the throne to him according to the original plan. He had no impulse to take over soon, but the sudden death of Emperor Qinzheng pushed him to this position, and he was not prepared for it at all. Fortunately, the Qin family has been passed down for nearly 1,000 years. The elders and the cabinet have plans for such things. When he was not yet able to rule, the cabinet and the royal elders helped him govern and gave him the opportunity to learn, teaching him how to become a qualified emperor. The first cabinet meeting was attended by the great elder Qin Shan of the royal elders, the military marshal Feng Bismarck, and the ministers in charge of various departments. Everyone sat around a huge round table, which is also the tradition of the Galactic Empire. Emperor Qin Zhi spoke first. Today, I became the ruler of the Galactic Empire, but I'm not happy. Because this is based on the death of my father, and there is also a powerful enemy Nicholas who is eyeing us. Our Galactic Empire is now facing an unprecedented crisis. I'm not ready to become an emperor, and my ability is very limited. I'm far from being a qualified emperor. Therefore, I can only ask everyone present to help me and teach me. Let us work together to do our best for the unity and glory of the empire. Emperor Qin Zhi said this, stood up, and bowed deeply to everyone present. Everyone responded with warm applause. Then, Emperor Qin Zhi sat down and continued to say to the ministers, next, please ask Minister De Yunfei to introduce the current situation to us. Minister De Yunfei of the Galaxy Empire opened the folder in his hand and said, Nicholas established the Northern Empire. Now they have 4 major fleets. The first fleet guards the Siberian starfield, with about 4 squadrons. The second fleet of the north is stationed in the Baikal starfield bordering the eastern administrative region, with 3 squadrons, but they are all new warships, and their combat effectiveness should not be underestimated. The third fleet of the north has 4 to 5 squadrons, stationed in the Baku starfield, and this fleet has both new and old ships. The fourth fleet is all old warships, but has been modernized, and the most important thing is that the force has reached 8 squadrons. It seems that they are still quite afraid of our 3rd fleet and 7th fleet. In terms of economy, the North has suffered a heavy blow under our economic blockade in the past few months. More importantly, the lack of materials has caused their military production to stagnate significantly. Our economists estimate that if the status quo is maintained, the North's economy will collapse in half a year. However, they will not sit idly by, and will probably take wartime measures, military control and other means. In this way, they can survive for another year. Combining all the above information, we believe that Nicholas will launch a military invasion of the empire in a year. The reasons are as follows. First, the North's economy will reach a critical point by then. If we do not start a war to transfer contradictions, they will automatically collapse without us. Second, although Nicholas has accumulated several fleets now, it takes time for personnel coordination and warship running in. It will take at least a year to form combat effectiveness. The above is a basic intelligence we have obtained from the North and the analysis of our intelligence department. I think everyone present has seen this intelligence and analysis. Then, please tell us how your departments will respond. Marshal von Bismarck said. Our military fleets have demarcated their respective defense zones and blocked the borders a few months ago. If Nicholas attempts to invade through the wormhole, they will be hit head on. In addition, the function of the border garrison in the past was mainly to fight against star pirates, but now, they have been fully upgraded, so that they can truly perform the duties of guarding the border. Now, each fleet has been expanded and trained on the basis of the original 5 squadrons. The next task of the military is to crack down on interstellar smuggling with the North and reconnaissance ships from the North on a large scale. In addition, star pirates will also be an important target for us to attack. Nicholas spent a lot of money to buy a large number of star pirates. Now, these star pirates have become an unstable factor, which is just right for training. In addition, we will not sit and wait for death. We will send elite teams to counterattack in the North, to carry out activities such as breaking trade, exploring, and assassination. By the way, we can also train troops. Marshal Feng Bismarck's idea coincides with Nicholas. Marshal, what do you think of the full-scale attack that the North will launch in a year? According to what Mr. Dayren said just now, the North is not yet firmly established. Can our army take this opportunity to launch an attack? Emperor Qin asked with some curiosity. Your Majesty, although your idea is good, there are many factors to consider in the face of such a large-scale war. The reason why we cannot launch an attack on the North immediately is mainly due to the following considerations. First, the North has been planning for many years, and we are just hasty to fight. Because the late Emperor opposed the war, we only started preparing for the war in the past 6 months, and we are more hasty than the North. Second, Nicholas is a meticulous person with great talent in tactics and strategy. At this time, the border area, especially the other end of the wormhole, must be heavily guarded. If our troops forcefully attack at this time, it will cause heavy losses. Now in terms of the number of troops, our advantage over the North is very limited. If we rashly launch an attack and cause serious losses, the situation on the battlefield will be reversed instantly. Third, fighting is actually a battle of comprehensive national strength. Our galactic empire has strong economic strength, a strong industrial base and scientific and technological level, as well as abundant mineral resources and human resources. Even if the North is allowed to develop freely for 1 or 2 years, and we develop in the same way, our gap can only widen. Therefore, the later the war starts, the more fully prepared we will be, and the more advantageous it will be for us. Fourth, our intelligence agencies are very weak in the North, and it will take some time to infiltrate in order to provide more accurate intelligence. Fifth, there are still many individuals and organizations in the country who are very resistant to war. They have not yet understood the harm of Nicholas. We need time to unify the thoughts of the people and society. Combining the above points, now is not the best time to start a war. After discussions and countless deductions, we believe that the least costly and most reliable way to deal with it is to stay put. After a year, when the economy of the North can no longer hold up, they will take the lead in launching an attack. In this way, even if they can pass through the wormhole, they will pay a huge price. By that time, we have already been fully prepared, waiting for the opportunity to tire, and can annihilate them at the lowest cost. Of course, we are not doing nothing during this year. Our military will deploy heavy troops on the border, combining border blockade with military training. Nicholas will definitely send a lot of troops to engage in smuggling and open up new routes. Our imperial military will resolutely and thoroughly strike these troops. At the same time, we will also send a large number of reconnaissance troops and special forces deep into the hinterland of the North to carry out tasks such as disrupting trade, reconnaissance, and opening up secret waterways. After listening to Feng Bismarck's introduction, Emperor Qin realized how immature and shallow he was. Thank you for the guidance of the old marshal. The student has learned a lot. The old marshal often taught the two princes, so he also called the old marshal a teacher in private. Then Lord Yao, is the empire ready in terms of economy? Emperor Qin asked. Xia Xingchen, the Minister of Finance of the Galactic Empire, replied, Your Majesty, the Imperial Ministry of Finance squeezed out a part of the secret fund 6 years ago for the expansion of the fleets, to prepare for war, in order to guard against the North. The late emperor also knew about this money, but fortunately, the late emperor did not object. In addition, the War Reserve Fund of the Galactic Empire for nearly 100 years is huge, enough to support us to fight a large-scale protracted war. As long as you nod your approval, the money will be allocated quickly. 3% of the annual fiscal revenue of the Galactic Empire will be deposited into the secret treasury as a war reserve. Once the Galactic Empire is threatened by war or a huge financial crisis, the money can be used with the unanimous consent of the Emperor, the Cabinet, the Royal Elders Council and the military. The last time the Galactic Empire used this money was when Emperor Qin Wu formed the 7th Fleet. Now, after more than 100 years of accumulation, this money has become an astronomical figure. Emperor Qin Zhi nodded. Okay, I approve this matter. After the meeting, please ask Mr. Yeo to fill out the application for the use of funds. Is that all you have to say? One more thing, Your Majesty, the war is about to start, and there will definitely be a large number of illegal businessmen who will take this opportunity to frantically make money, making war money and national disaster money. I suggest taking administrative measures to stabilize prices and severely crack down on price gouging and hoarding. Of course, this action also requires the help and support of the military, intelligence departments and judicial organs. No problem, I approve this too. Lord Yeo, please quickly formulate the relevant rules, and I will issue an order immediately. Yes, Your Majesty. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 The Empire's Response. In the meeting room of the Galaxy Empire Palace on Shineon Star, the Emperor and ministers of the Galaxy Empire were holding a special cabinet meeting to discuss ways to deal with the North. Dai Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Galaxy Empire, first introduced the internal and foreign affairs of the Northern Empire, followed by Marshal von Bismarck and Minister of Finance Xia Xingchen, who respectively introduced the military and financial preparations of the Galaxy Empire. Lord N.K., do you have anything else to add? Emperor Qin Zhi asked the old Prime Minister respectfully. He knew the ability and skills of this seemingly old Prime Minister. Since Your Majesty has asked this, I, an old man, will take advantage of my seniority to say a few words. First, war propaganda must be done well, and have a legitimate reason, to gain the support of the people for the war. The bad things Nicholas has done in recent years and the miserable lives of the people in the North now must be fully displayed to the people. Regarding the war with the North, I only hope there will be a unified voice. As for those brain-dead anti-war people, Xiaode, I will leave them to your intelligence department. Yes, Prime Minister, we will definitely strengthen the supervision of public opinion. Dai Yunfei said respectfully. For the second point, I would like to ask Your Majesty, what do you think of the miners? The old Prime Minister N.K. looked at Qin Zhi with a sharp gaze. Qin Zhi pondered for a while, reorganized his words, and said, 3 years ago, my sister, Princess Qinjana, ran away from home. In order to find my sister, I disguised myself and sneaked into a mining planet. I lived with the miners for 3 months. These 3 months had a great impact on me. The miners are by no means as selfish, greedy, cruel, and lazy as some media say. On the contrary, most of them are hardworking, diligent, and friendly. At least in my opinion, they are much better than many citizens and nobles. Their living environment is very harsh. The biggest thought of the miners every day is to try to survive. Some people are trying their best to obtain the status of a citizen. In fact, life is very unfair to them. Now the identities of most miners come from their parents. After all, birth is something that cannot be chosen. Over time, this unfairness will turn into a kind of resentment in the hearts of the miners. When this resentment accumulates to a certain extent, it will become an unstable factor in the empire. This is also a historical problem that has been left over since the emergence of the miners. I think the best way to deal with the miners' problem is to give them a chance to get rid of their miners' identity, give them a direction to work towards, and let the elites among the miners become citizens of the Galactic Empire. In this way, they will have hope and motivation, and will not think about making trouble all day long. Emperor Qin Zhi said, and the ministers nodded frequently. They were very satisfied with the new emperor. He was not partial, had a practical spirit, and was good at thinking. These are the basic qualities of being a wise monarch. The reason why the old Prime Minister NK raised this issue was mainly because the miners' problem was very complicated, involving the interests of many people, and a single move would affect the whole body. The Emperor's attitude played a decisive role in whether the miners' problem could be properly resolved. Since your majesty has such profound insights on the miners, I, as an old minister, will share my own views. First, as for the Miners' Freedom Army, I think the military can take the lead in contacting them, and our Galactic Empire can suspend its attacks on them. As long as they don't hold the Empire back, we will not touch them. Moreover, we can cooperate with them in intelligence, and in combating northern infiltration. Second, war will inevitably bring about a large number of sacrifices. We can take this opportunity to select talents from the miners. This will not only give the miners a chance to get rid of their miner identity, but also reduce the burden on the imperial military. On the other hand, with fewer elites among the miners resistance organizations will be weakened accordingly. Excuse me, Lord NK, why do we want the military to contact them? This should be the responsibility of the Ministry of the Interior and the Intelligence Department, Emperor Qin asked, not quite understanding. Haha, your majesty, you don't know that the intelligence department has always been the main force in the empire's actions to combat the miners' resistance organizations over the years. They and the miners are at loggerheads. It is better for the military to come forward. However, I suggest that the candidate for contact with the Galaxy Freedom Army should be carefully considered. This person must have considerable influence among the people to represent the empire. NK explained. Okay, let's do it. We have to study the candidate issue specifically. Lord NK asked you to continue. This is all I can add. Other matters will be discussed at the military meeting. Then I declare this cabinet meeting adjourned. Now, please trouble Lord NK to preside over the work of the funeral committee, and the relevant departments will continue to discuss the state funeral the day after tomorrow. The military leaders and intelligence department leaders, please follow me to the number 3 conference room to continue the military meeting. Emperor Qin stood up and gave an order. The number 3 conference room of the Galaxy Empire Palace is arranged like a small cinema, with a small operating table and multiple large screens in front. The participants sat down, in turn facing the large screen. The participants of this Imperial Military Conference are the new Emperor Qin of the Galactic Empire, the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire, von Bismarck, the Chief of the General Staff of the Galactic Empire, Admiral Zhang King, the Chief of General Logistics of the Galactic Empire, Admiral Liu Wheelie, the Commander of the First Fleet, Admiral Zhang Yuan, the Commander of the Second Fleet, Admiral Pei Xiaoyuan, the Commander of the Third Fleet, Admiral von Klosch, the Commander of the Fourth Fleet, Admiral Tannhäuser, the Commander of the Fifth Fleet, Admiral Schumacher, the Commander of the Sixth Fleet, Admiral Luan Yunfei, the Commander of the Seventh Fleet, Admiral Gu Yu, and the Commander of the Royal Fleet, Admiral Qin Mingyu. In addition, there are the Minister of the Interior of the Galactic Empire, De Yunfei, and the heads of the 4 intelligence departments under him, including Colonel De Ren, the newly appointed Director of the Strategic Intelligence Department of the Galactic Empire. The Grand Marshal of the Imperial Army, von Bismarck, walked to the operating table and stood in the direction of everyone. Emperor Qin sat in the seat closest to the operating table. Your Majesty, Lord NK has entrusted me to report to you what was not convenient to say at the cabinet meeting just now. First of all, our intelligence department has been closely monitoring the other 3 frontier officials, Prince Jiuo Yunjia of the Eastern Administrative District, Prince Milner of the Southern Administrative District, and Prince Tang Yu of the Western Administrative District. Their personal armed forces are also under strict military control. Although Nicholas Rebellion has nothing to do with them, we are afraid that they will feel that the lips and teeth are cold and do irrational things, so we have taken preventive measures. The 3 princes have now entered the Xianyuan Star region to attend the state funeral ceremony of the late emperor. Chapter 225 The Empire's Response. The high-ranking military and intelligence officials of the Galactic Empire held a meeting in conference room number 3 of the Royal Palace. Marshal von Bismarck first introduced that the military and intelligence departments had put the other 3 governors of the Galactic Empire, Prince Jiuo Yunjia of the Eastern Administrative Region, Prince Milner of the Southern Administrative Region, and Prince Tang Yu of the Western Administrative Region, under close surveillance to prevent them from colluding with Mechas or overreacting. Very good. Lord N.K. has thought very carefully. Marshal, please introduce the garrison situation of the army and the preparation for war. First of all, I would like to thank Lord Xia Xingchen, the Minister of Finance of the Empire. In the past few years, he has been under great pressure and squeezed out a large amount of special funds from the fiscal appropriation, so that in a short period of time, except for the Royal Fleet, we have reached the full strength of 4 squadrons, among which the 3rd Fleet has reached the strength of 5 squadrons. Moreover, all major fleets are expanding their forces and preparing for war. Each fleet now has about 1 or 2 reserve forces, which are being trained intensively. The specific defense situation of the troops is as follows. The capital administrative star region has the strength of 4 squadrons of the Empire's 1st Fleet, 4 squadrons of the 2nd Fleet, and 3 squadrons of the Royal Fleet stationed. Among them, the 4 squadrons of the 2nd Fleet are stationed in the Glacier Star region bordering the north. The 3 squadrons of the Royal Fleet are stationed in the Xianyuan Star region and its surrounding areas. The 4 squadrons of the 1st Fleet are stationed in other star regions of the capital administrative region and serve as mobile forces. The Western Administrative Region is garrisoned by the 3rd Fleet, the 6th Fleet, and the 7th Fleet. 4 squadrons and 1 reserve squadron of the 3rd Fleet are stationed in the Lowland Star region. 4 squadrons of the 4th Fleet are stationed in the Chang'an Star region, the Ruhr Star region, and the Luban Star region. The 1st Squadron of the 3rd Fleet and the 4 squadrons of the 7th Fleet are used as mobile forces. The Eastern Administrative Region is only connected to the Northern Administrative Region by a stable medium-sized wormhole, so it has fewer troops stationed. The Linyuan Star region on its northern border is garrisoned by 3 squadrons of the 5th Fleet, while another squadron of the 5th Fleet is stationed in the Penglai Star region. The rest of the Eastern Administrative Region is garrisoned by 4 squadrons of the 4th Fleet and 2 reserve fleets of the 4th and 5th Fleets. The Southern Administrative Region is far away from the battlefield, but there are 1 reserve fleet each of the 3rd Fleet and the 7th Fleet for training. At the same time, this is also to deter Prince Milner. Of course, we can't just sit there and wait for death. The military will organize elite forces to infiltrate the territory of the Northern Administrative Region, open up new waterways, and carry out guerrilla warfare and special operations. Create military pressure on them. In terms of manpower, we have secretly mobilized troops in China. We have increased the intensity of conscription in various places, especially the intensity of conscription and selection among minors. In addition, all soldiers' vacations are cancelled, and all military academy students who have been in military academies for more than 2 years are required to leave school and be assigned to various large units. In addition, the training and personnel selection of retired soldiers and reserve soldiers have also begun. We are just waiting for you to issue a general mobilization order. Okay, I will sign the general mobilization order immediately. Admiral Liu Wheelie, please introduce the preparations of the logistics department. Admiral Liu Wheelie, director of the General Logistics Department of the Imperial Army, came to the operating table and introduced the preparations of the logistics department. Now the military enterprises under our military industry department have reached 95% of the production load. Major domestic military enterprises have also started all machines for production, especially Krupp Industries and Tang Dynasty Group. Even if the military has not placed an order, they will produce at all costs. This is very beneficial to us. As long as the funding from the Ministry of Finance is in place, these warships and mechas can be put into service immediately. It saves us a lot of time. The Imperial military now has a total of 6 heavy space carriers under construction. 2 of them are in Chang'an Star region, and the construction progress of the Shengtang class heavy space carrier built by the Tang Dynasty Group has been completed by 85%. 2 are in Ruhr Star region, and the construction progress of the Arthur class heavy space carrier built by Krupp Industries has been completed by 70%. In Luban Star region, The construction progress of a Kinwu Emperor-class heavy space carrier built by the Royal Military Industry Group has been completed by 65%. Also in Lubenstar region, the construction progress of a Killer Whale-class heavy space carrier built by the Tim Military Industry Group has been completed by 52%. All these warships will be completed in 7 months. It is expected that at least 4 heavy space carriers will be able to form combat effectiveness within a year. In addition, engineers and construction teams jointly organized by Krupp Industries and the Tang Dynasty Group will build 4 armed fortress satellites on 3 routes to the north and strive to complete them within 8 months. In addition, all strategic reserve ammunition, mechas, spacecraft, etc. have been unsealed, and mechas and spacecrafts are being overhauled and modernized. They can all be put into battle in 2 months. Good. Emperor Qin Zhi waved his fist. He was very satisfied with the way he dealt with these military leaders under his command. Lord De Yunfei, the work of the intelligence department is very important now. Please tell me about your deployment. Your Majesty, in order to strengthen our work in intelligence, our Ministry of Internal Affairs has newly established a strategic intelligence department. The use of new ideas and new methods to supplement our traditional intelligence system has initially shown obvious results. Now the intelligence department is operating at full capacity, comprehensively monitoring all aspects of internal and foreign affairs. You know, intelligence work is complicated and difficult to summarize in general. I can only tell you here. Simply put, collect intelligence externally, fight spies internally, and control public opinion. Emperor Qin Zhi nodded. I'm here to thank you all for your efforts. Let us work together to reunify the Galactic Empire. Yes, Your Majesty. January 5th, 2020. Xianyuan Star Empire Royal District, Imperial Royal Cemetery. A team of royal guards carried the coffin of Emperor Qinzheng of the Empire to the tomb. Emperor Qinzheng's wife, the new Emperor of the Empire, Qin Zhi, Qin Zhi's brother, Prince Qinyuan, Princess Qinjana of the Stars, Princess Qinfanja of the Moon, and other members of the royal family followed the coffin silently. The ministers and military generals of the Galactic Empire stood on both sides of the road leading to the tomb. After 7749 soul-chasing cannons, the coffin was carried into the tomb and placed in place, and the stone door of the tomb slowly fell. At this time, the queen was extremely sad. The couple would be separated from each other forever. She cried and fainted. This state funeral was broadcast live throughout the galaxy. Elder Qin Shan delivered a eulogy on behalf of the royal family. Then, Emperor Qin Zhi of the Empire made an impassioned speech, severely condemning Nicholas's treason, and announcing that the Galactic Empire government did not recognize the legitimacy of Nicholas's northern regime. He formally declared war on the northern regime here. That night, the 4 brothers and sisters gathered in a small living room in the Emperor's bedroom. Is the Queen Mother asleep? Emperor Qin Zhi asked. Their mother was so grief-stricken these days that she lost her appetite and fainted several times. She had been relying on nutrient solution to survive. The 2 princesses stayed by their mother's side, fearing that she would have an accident. Princess Qinfanja nodded. The imperial physician added some tranquilizers to the nutrient injection, which was very effective. Thank you for your hard work, my sisters. Brother, please don't say that. This is a duty as children. Qinfanja said. Brother, I really can't swallow this breath. I want to avenge my father. What can we do? Prince Qinyuan said. Qin Zhi looked at his brother and 2 sisters. He knew that his brother and sister were very upset. The relationship between the 4 brothers and sisters of the Qin family was very good. Even if Qin Zhi became the emperor of the empire, the family affection between them did not fade. Qin Zhi told them the contents of the cabinet meeting and the imperial military meeting 2 days ago. Brother, let me be the liaison with the miners organization. Princess Crossing Qinjana made such a request abruptly. No, it's too dangerous. Qin Zhi and Qinyuan said almost in unison. 2 brothers, no one is more suitable than me. I'm a member of the royal family, and I'm a woman. They will not be too wary of me. More importantly, I have lived with the miners for more than half a year, and I know their way of thinking, living conditions and their demands very well. As a member of the royal family, it is our unshakable responsibility as royal children to avenge our father and maintain the unity of the country. Qinjana was very determined. Emperor Qin lowered his head and pondered for a long time. He knew that his sister had a very strong character. She would do what she decided to do without hesitation. It was impossible to stop her. She would definitely run away secretly. But it was not just Qin. It seemed that all the women in the Qin family in history had this character. Instead of stopping her, it would be safer to actively guide her and send someone to protect her. Okay, I promise you, but you must bring enough guards. You must ensure your safety. I have lost my father and don't want to lose another sister. Okay, but I want to personally designate the guards. Okay. Emperor Qin was helpless in the face of this strong sister. Brother, I plan to accept the Nirvana trial. Prince Qin also said. Are you crazy, brother? It's not that time yet. The Nirvana trial is too dangerous. Brother, I know myself very well. I have average qualifications. If it weren't for the identity of this prince, I would be nothing. I'm unwilling to live a mediocre life. The only way out is to participate in the Nirvana trial and make myself stronger. In the southeastern border area of the distant Eastern Administrative Region, there is a phoenix star. This planet is very close to the star. The temperature can reach more than 60 degrees during the day and can drop to -20 degrees at night. The gravity on this planet is 3.5 times that of the Earth. There are all kinds of strange creatures growing on the planet. These creatures have strong vitality. Their common feature is that they are very dangerous. As a royal family, the Qin family specially established a special training base on the Phoenix Star in order to prevent their children from falling from generation to generation. The male members of the Qin family have to go there for special training every 3 years. If the children of the Qin family want to join the Imperial Elders Council or gain a higher status in the royal family, they can apply to participate in the Nirvana trial there. The so-called Nirvana training is to survive in 3 different areas of that planet for 1 month with bare hands. According to the different biological threats in each area, it is divided into level 1 trial, level 2 trial and level 3 trial. The survival rate of the level 3 Nirvana trial is 50%, the survival rate of the level 2 Nirvana trial is 20%, and the survival rate of the level 1 trial is 10%. Only after passing the level 3 Nirvana trial can you proceed to the level 2 Nirvana trial, and so on. Although it is not easy to survive the trial, it can be said that it is a life and death struggle, but everyone who passes a Nirvana trial has a surge in strength. Just like a phoenix, after the baptism of death, it is reborn in the flames. Qin proposed to his brother to participate in the Nirvana trial, and Emperor Qin was very reluctant for him to take the risk. But looking at his brother's determined eyes, he couldn't refuse his brother's heart. Okay, but promise me that you won't be impulsive or anxious. You must go through hard training and lay a solid foundation before participating in the trial. Got it, brother? Brother, second brother, little sister, you can go and do your own things. I will stay here with my mother for a while. When my mother gets through this difficult time, I will help you. Princess Qinfanger of the Moon said. Thank you please, sister. Just 1 week after the new year of UC 2020, the Tangyang high-speed mecha cruiser suddenly received a transfer order to quickly go to Xia Star to perform a special mission. In addition, the 04th and 05th mecha squads on the Tangyang were transferred from the Tangyang and joined the battle sequence of the newly commissioned Liang class high-speed mecha cruiser Qingyang. After receiving this order, although confused, Captain Van Horn did not dare to neglect it at all and quickly led the Tangyang to the capital starfield. After more than 10 days of intense flight, the Tangyang finally arrived at Xia Star. Along the way, Vivian, the pilot of the Tangyang, and another pilot kept the engine output power above 95%. So they arrived at Xia Star in a very short time. Surprisingly, the person who received them at the Canal Space Station was not someone from the 3rd Fleet, but a Brigadier General of the Royal Fleet. The Brigadier General directly found Captain Van Horn and issued an order to him alone. It is said that this mission is highly confidential. The Tangyang will set off in 2 days. After issuing the order, the Brigadier General specifically called for Xia Xingchen and asked him to go with him to meet someone who was also related to this mission. Xia Xingchen was very puzzled and couldn't think of what this had to do with him. He followed the Brigadier General in a space shuttle to Shinyuan Star. Their destination turned out to be the palace. Xia Xingchen walked into a small reception room, and a person suddenly rushed out, hugged Xia Xingchen and burst into tears. "Xingchen, my father, he is gone." This person was Princess Crossing Kinjana. Seeing Princess Crossing crying so sadly, Xia Xingchen naturally stretched out his arms and hugged her. He gently patted Kinjana's shoulders and stroked her hair. Princess Kinjana's tears wet Xia Xingchen's military uniform. At this time, the door of the reception room opened, and several heads stuck out from inside, all of them looking at this scene in surprise. Xia Xingchen's face immediately turned red, and he felt extremely embarrassed. He knew all the people in the room. They were the Emperor Qinzhi, Prince Qinyuan and Princess Yukinfanja. They had all met at Kinjana's coming of age ceremony and greeted each other. These people were also very surprised. Their sister was very strong. Even when she fell and had a bloody head when she was a child, she would not cry. After learning that Emperor Qinzheng had passed away, she only cried once. Who knew that this princess saw her knight, as if she had found support and spiritual sustenance, and released all her grievances. After more than 10 minutes, Princess Crossing finished crying, choked, and went into the reception room with Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen took out a tissue to help Princess Crossing wipe away her tears, and then saluted the people in the room. Xia Xingchen greets His Majesty the Emperor, His Royal Highness the Prince, and His Royal Highness the Princess. No need to be polite, Xia Xingchen. Do you know why I called you here this time? Emperor Qinzhi asked. I don't know. Please tell me clearly. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.